How we doing there, boys and girls? Good morning, or well, good afternoon to be more precisely. Welcome in, welcome in. Hope we're all doing well. Wow, what a busy week. What a busy week. I've got some profession leveling to do today though, so I thought I'd throw up the stream and you guys. It's going to be a lot of spreadsheet stuff, but I'm quite sure it'll appeal to some of you. So, but welcome in, boys and girls. In true fashion, go to load up the stream, and the Dragonflight beta needs a massive, great big update. So, and it's hopefully that will finish quite quickly. No coffee this morning. I've not drank coffee for a few days. I'm trialing out, seeing just how dependent I am as a human being on caffeine, which is it's an experiment. Let's put it that way. Did you try the Dark Moon Firewater gathering speed in Dragonflight? I haven't. No, I'm nowhere near anywhere. You know, I'm not a big enough gatherer to even use, you know, that in retail. Never mind trying it in Dragonflight. I'm gonna probably start looking, because I know it's the foundation for most people, right? Gathering is the foundation for most people, so I will endeavor to pay a little bit more attention to gathering. In the first, probably some easy content for the first few days and weeks of Dragonflight, but I've not tested very specific stuff like that yet. Today it's all about professions though. What I do need to do is I've been making a few tweaks and a few adjustments to how I have things laid out in the cheat sheet. Where's enchanting gone? I did some work on enchanting yesterday. There's a lot of sheets now. I need to use the little menu. Enchanting. Changed it up a little bit. Simply being is that it was a lot of, dead space, I felt. I've still got the patterns and the locations on the side. Got the spec builds for the different professions. But I wanted to have a bit of space for actual, spreadsheet stuff. Now, it's very difficult to work out what all the spreadsheet stuff is going to be because, well, until it goes live, until we start actually playing with it and we start to see, well, what's selling and what's not and what's the information I all of a sudden need and that sort of stuff, it's kind of hard to do too much guesswork into the future, but I made it so that there's a nice big space for doing regular spreadsheet stuff. What that does mean is that the basic leveling information is not on the default sheets now. I want to have... Where's it gone? I want to have a dedicated leveling sheet with profession leveling paths. Now, enchanting is hidden behind my camera right now, but it's basically going to be in a simple, what do you need to craft at what level? What's the optimal thing to craft at each level to get your skill points in a cost-effective manner? Lots of people out there seem to have this impression that just crafting one of everything is the best way to level, and it's really not. It's really not. It's a super unoptimal way, and it's going to cause you crafting a whole bunch of shit that you're then going to struggle to sell, if be able to sell it all. It's going to make it a very, very costly way to level up your professions. There's no reason to not try and put a bit of optimization to it. Once you've leveled up, then you can go back and craft everything for the first time, because by that point you'll be crafting it at higher quality. Let's turn these tunes down just a touch. I need the... that's kind of good for intro music, but let's switch it over to something a bit more chill for the brain. So I'm going to go through today and I'm going to fill out a few of these in a little bit more detail. Make sure that each profession has got, at the very basics, a default leveling path for people. I'm really hoping at this point in time, I'm hoping and I'm praying that they have finished tweaking and tuning the different recipes and stuff. Now, it's probably a little bit early to say that's the case, but we do have release candidate now, so you do have to at least at some point make the assumption that what we see is what we're going to get. If they do change things, well, hey, they change things, but we'll see. We'll see. What I probably should start with is start with a profession that I don't have a very up-to-date leveling path for. Jewel crafting, let's start right at the beginning and see what. Jewel crafting is probably not too far from true still. Inscription, I've leveled it a few times and it's mostly inks, but I would need to check this again to see if it's... Is there any profession I've not done a leveling path for? Okay. The fact that I've in all caps, blacksmithing needs update. That gives me an impression that we should probably start with blacksmithing today. Didn't see it for a few days. Is the house selling going okay, or did I simply miss the stream? No, streaming it's a difficult one for me at the moment. Streaming is, truth be told, I love to try and keep my stream as a hobby. You know, it's my stuff to do in off time. You guys will probably know that I usually stream first thing in the morning for me. You know, I get up and I sort the dogs and I have breakfast and then I stream for a few hours and then I focus on video content after. The last few days though, my schedule has been completely upside down. So it's unfortunately, if there's anything that's going to get cut out of my day, it's usually the stream time. So I want to make sure that I'm still, you know, regular content for YouTube. I'm working on the cheat sheet, and of course I have lots of IRL stuff to do at the moment. So yes, streaming at the moment is sporadic, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit. It doesn't matter too much because we're going to have drops and things in pre-patch landing, and there's going to be plenty of time for streaming. There's not too much to stream at the moment other than me just playing on the beta, and playing on the beta doesn't really serve much of a purpose at the moment because most things on the beta I've kind of done. I just really want to make sure that I'm prepared and ready for the launch. That's my main thing. But yeah, the house selling is going okay. Paperwork, lots to think about, lots to, you know, yeah. Last video on quality was very good. Do you recommend going alloys if you go blacksmithing? It's definitely a viable route for sure. I'll have a look at blacksmithing now. I'll do the leveling guide for blacksmithing and we can have a little bit of a deeper look into it. Blacksmithing is, I mean, any of you guys that have watched my tier list, which I might redo the tier list now that we're getting a little bit closer. We've started to see what I think is the final setup for a lot of the professions. I have a feeling that I don't think my opinions on which professions are going to be best for goal making are going to have really changed all that much since I did the tier list, but I'd like to make a shorter, more video-esque version of it. The last time I did a tier list, I just cut the chunk out of the stream and posted that. It did remarkably well for the YouTube channel, but not everybody is best impressed about watching a 50+ minute long video on YouTube, so I want to chop it down and get it, you know, a bit more precise. But that will come in the next few days and weeks. Let's make, in fact, not change realm. We need to stay on Valdraken, don't we? We also could do with some in-game sounds. And now where's my Spotify gone? Where's the audio gone? There we go. Professional stream, of course. Let's make a new character for blacksmithing. Can I get a blacksmithy name? Somebody do me a blacksmithy name. Somebody must have a blacksmith-esque name. I want to make sure I use a character that doesn't have a racial bonus, because racial bonuses sway the leveling up. Robert? Is Robert a blacksmith sort of name? I mean, I'll take it. I guess it kind of is. Any name can be, I suppose. It's probably taken. In fact, it's got to have something to do with blacksmithing in it. Mr. Smith. Mr. Smithing. Mrs. Smith. No, of course all these names are taken. Robert Smith. Robert Smith. No, somebody's yoinked it already. John Smith. Agent Smith. Hey, that's a cool one. Hey, we'll have Agent Smith. There we go. Agent Smith is going to be our blacksmith. Yeah, I don't want to try and do leveling on a character that's got some sort of racial bonus for that profession, because it sways the leveling path pretty aggressively, which will mean that, you know, it won't actually then work for most people that might use it. So, options, add-ons, disable everything. Right then. Do we have audio? We've got audio. We're good. I don't want to be that person, but you put Ambient Smith. Did I? Oh, yeah. Well, it'll do. It'll do. This character's not going to last more than 5 minutes anyway. Right. Let's go blacksmithing. Right, let me get my spreadsheet on the go for blacksmithing. So, what do we expect it to be for blacksmithing? I'm quite sure this has changed since... I mean, the fact that I've clearly stated it needs an update means it's probably completely different. Let's... What were we doing last time? We were making a few weapons... a few bits... Just bits and bobs. I can't imagine it's much different, but there's obviously... Oh, this is actually from before they even added the extra early, the early days level, the early gear to it. What's it called? I really do need to start learning the name of all this gear. The Explorer's Expert gear, I guess. That's the one. Right, so we don't expect it to be too complex of a one, but what I do expect to need is a bunch of materials. We're going to need ore. You're the leather one. We're going to need... Let's just grab a bunch of everything so we've got it. Casgarite ore. We are going to need... What else does it state we might need? I actually was smart and put down a tally of materials last time. Primal flux, regular ore, mid-tier ore. Don't technically need any Casgarite ore. That's an interesting one. Some awakened earth and fire. That's going to come from you. Awakened earth, awakened fire. Primal flux vendor reagent. Now the music's too loud. Primal flux. Who's stolen me primal flux? 15 gold a piece now, primal flux. They've gone to town with the vendor reagent costs. I wonder if it's going to actually stay this price when it goes live. Because this has the likelihood that this could just straight up kill the possibility for vendor shuffling. Like, completely. One thing that I hadn't really put much thought about is that even basic draconic vials could be 10 gold a piece. Now, I don't know if these are provisional prices, whether it'll actually go live like this, but vendor mats are slowly but surely just getting more and more expensive. Probably to counteract, you know, vendor shuffles. But when Blizzard set the vendor price for the gear, it seems a bit odd that they would need to do that, but they do. Let's grab a bunch of that because we'll probably need it. How we doing, Haddock? Welcome in. Good morning, good morning. Amusingly, I didn't know about the Insight Incense Burner from Alchemy. Are there other optimal crafting items slash buffs. I assume every profession has a benefit for the other crafters. Not really. Alchemy has those like incenses that, if I remember correctly, they do an AOE inspiration buff. You'll likely find that in the early days and weeks at the little crafting hub in Valdrakken, there'll almost always be that buff up. Somebody will have put it down. There's not too much like that. I thought they were going to go, and this might be, tomorrow's, update in terms of it could be a 10.1, 10.2 thing. I really did assume that they would go a lot heavier with like crafters buffs. We have like crafters enchants for the tools and stuff, but I would have assumed there'd have been more. There's like a flask you can use that will improve your gathering, and there's a few little things like that, but I expected them to, go a bit heavier with it, but they chose not to. What else am I likely going to need? I'm going to need one of these army knife jobbies. That's probably all the materials we're going to need then. Let's see how this plays out. So,
Be careful out there.
I have just the thing for you.
just put our mats over here out the way so we can see what's going on. Blacksmithing then. Right, where are we going to start? Let's put the profession on our bars. Let's also change this. There we go, that looks better. Not profession related, but I wanted to put the word out there. Evokers have been enabled on the PTR, maybe by accident, letting you know if by chance somebody without beta can't wait to test them. Okay. Well, I mean, they come out 15th, right? A few days from now, pretty much. It's not going to be long. But yes, if you really, really must get your hands on Evoker before it goes live, then that's possibly an option.
Peace, friend.
Train me in blacksmithing. There we go. No, oh, where did it go? Why did that close the window? There we go. Right. Choices. Do we go with the thing that uses less primal flux, more draconium ore, or less draconium ore and more ceravite ore? More ceravite ore it is, not to mention it's a tool that we can use for our own benefit. So, draconium blacksmith hammer ×1. Boom. Now, the cost is unlikely to be too different, so maybe for the purpose of the first craft bonus, we will craft one of those as well. Right, let's go blacksmithing. Where's my leveling sheet? Blacksmithing. What was the pattern called we did the first thing? Draconium blacksmithing hammer. Draconium blacksmithing hammer, that gave us 3 points. And then we did, what was this one? Explorer's plate braces. Explorer's plate braces. Saw your video about the potion endgame crafting. It seems like you are 10 to 15 off. Would being a goblin give you that? Or the extra alchemy passive doesn't work in Dragonflight? Racials obviously will come into play at that point. But some people have tested this a while back. I've not looked at it in too much detail recently. I try to, when I put guides out there, I try to ignore the racials because not everybody has them, right? There's, only a fraction of the people that have that profession have it on a character that's also got the racial. So I try not to talk about stuff with the racials too much. What people had noticed, though, was even if you had the racial and it pushed you past a threshold, whether it was a bug or not, it still... The bonus you gained from the racial still didn't really matter when it came to quality. There was something weird with it. But I've not personally tested it myself. In most cases, though, the racial probably won't push you past that threshold even still. Most racials are like +5 or +6 skill or something like that. I think they're all +5. +5 is the default, I think. Corterans have like +3. The racials have been nerfed, and it's probably because of this fact that they don't want you to... You know, your racial should give you a bonus for when you're like leveling up the profession and stuff. At the very top end, I don't think it should have that much of a difference. From here, skeleton keys are probably cheap. Vendor mats and ceravite ore. We should also at this point remember to equip this. Also a bit rubbish that 2 alliance races both have the blacksmithing bonuses. This is why I don't pay too much attention to the racials, because they're clearly imbalanced, and people most often want the racial to benefit their primary playstyle, which means that profession racials are almost never considered by most people. They're nice to have, but they shouldn't be the difference between somebody being able to perfectly craft something and somebody not being able to. That's just too powerful for what, you know, should be a racial bonus. It's not if it becomes that powerful that it has the ability to guarantee you quality 3, and if you don't have it, then you can't guarantee quality 3. That stops being like a racial bonus. That then becomes, you know, borderline mandatory for that profession, and then it's just too strong. Which is probably the reason they squished all of the racials in the first place. Would be my guess, at least, anyway. 7, 8, 9, 10. We only need 3 points. Maybe the draconium pickaxe is probably a good one to craft. Draconium ore, ceravite ore. I would say 2 draconium is going to... A draconium is no way going to be less than 15 gold, so let's go with the draconium pickaxe up until 10. Have I done this wrong? I have. That takes us from... We already have skill 1. That actually takes us to skill 4. Because it gains us 3 points, and we technically start with 1. What's going on here? There we go. And then that goes down here. Planning on participating in the craft with the blues thingy? I might do. The problem is for me is that it's late. It doesn't start until midnight, which is a problem for me, especially since we're very busy tomorrow. Meaning I probably can't be staying up all that late playing video games. So I will see. I would like to, and I was even thinking about putting out a little video about it. You know, just giving it some airtime. But I can't guarantee that I can even do it myself. So. It might not be it might be worth telling a few people to maybe jump on if they have the beta. It's worthwhile doing. I don't really know what they're going to be able to achieve with it, though. I'm sure they have some very specific things that they're looking to get out of it, but from what I can tell, I can't really see what the benefit's going to be. Mainly because they've also recommended people zerg their professions to max. Which is a bit odd, right? It's a bit odd because they're ultimately testing something that's not going to be viable for many weeks and months. I think they're purely just trying to test the mechanics of how the system works. But it's going to be odd. I should probably clarify that there's a crafting session with devs. The devs are all going to jump onto the Valdrakken realm on the beta later on today. Depending on if you play Team EU, it's going to be late this evening. If you play on Team NA, then it's going to be in your afternoon between sort of 3 and 5. But yeah, for Team EU, it's happening really quite late for many people. But they're only doing it for an hour. I really don't think much is going to come from it, if I'm honest. If they can smooth out some bugs, though, before it goes live, all the better. There's going to be no better stress test for it, though, than when the game goes live. Telling people to fake work orders on the PTR when there's not a reliable auction house for you to quickly have access to the intermediate items, meaning that most of the time, even on the test realm, you can't easily create public orders, because when you put a public order, you have to provide all of the materials. If you're providing all of the materials, if you as a crafter don't have access to those intermediate materials, then when the game goes live, you'd probably go buy them off the auction house. But that's not a thing on the test realm, because there ain't nobody trying to sell them on the auction house. So it's going to be real tricky to see if it even, works. I might poke my nose in and come and see what all the fun's about later, but I can't guarantee. Draconium Sickle's probably not a bad one to go next. We need to get to 15 at the very least. So probably 2 of these. 2 Draconium Dust. 2 Draconium Dust. 2 Draconium Ore over 3 Draconium Ore. I'm holding back from making this basic entry-level gear where possible, because I think by the time you've gained skill points, if you craft this straight away, you'll end up crafting quality 1, quality 2, and it'll be dog shit. If you level up your profession first and then go back and tick all of these boxes for their first time bonuses, it's not going to cost you any more materials. Your crafting cost is going to be exactly the same, but you'll be producing something at significantly higher quality, because the recipe difficulty on these is easy peasy. When the quality difference on your basic tools is going to be far less of a thing. But let's go with 2 of those then, I reckon. Draconium Sickle. How the hell do you spell sickle? S-I-C-K-L-E. There we go. 2 of those. Oh, hang on. We're missing a column. We're missing a column. It was 1 of those, 1 of those, 1 of those, 2 of those. That took us up to 16 points. All of these so far have been guaranteed. Ooh, single point repair hammers. If we get to single point repair hammers, or do we want to continue using more draconium ore for triple the guaranteed skill points? It's basically 1 skill point for every single draconium. That's a more cost-effective way of doing it, I reckon. A draconium skinning knife. Skinning knife and a blacksmith's toolbox. Probably times 2 even. No, just 1. Draconium skinning knife. That was 3 points. What was the other one? Draconium blacksmith's toolbox. That was also 3 points. And they were guaranteed skill ups. Multiple guaranteed skill ups to be more precise. Ooh, only 2 guaranteed skill ups for some of these. 2 guaranteed skill ups or 3. Okay, this is interesting. I think I'd still want to make the Draconium Leatherworker's Knife either way. Because that starts using 6 Draconium ore, which is going to get a bit expensive. That's also going to get us to 25, which will unlock Spectre's point thingies. That makes more sense to me than making these. Once again, weapons and stuff, I'd rather come back after I've gained more skill, and because if you craft one of these now and make it at quality 2, if you then come back after you've leveled it and make your Draconium Dirk for your first time craft, you'll be crafting one at probably quality 4, if not quality 5, which is going to be considerably more valuable. How quickly can alts get to the crafting area? Like a matter of minutes. As long as your main's already got access, as long as your main has got dragon riding already, your alts can just come straight in and fly straight to Valdrakken. It's no problem whatsoever. And I presume there's probably a way to get to Valdrakken quite quickly anyway. You don't strictly need to get to Valdrakken either. As the first little entry area to the Dragon Isles has most of the profession trainers there anyway. You may struggle though, actually. I wonder if there's crafting benches for all the professions. I'm not sure. You might still need to get to the main crafting area in Valdrakken. I'm not sure. Don't forget to equip the blacksmith's toolbox. That's also a very good shout, yeah. That's give us some resourcefulness and give us some crafting speed. Why not? Bonuses are bonuses. Okay, Draconium Leatherworker's Knife. There we go, 25. One of those, one of those, one of those. Okay, now we start getting some of the intermediate items. I'm usually a fan of crafting intermediates whenever you can get skill points from doing it. Usually because you need those intermediates later on for crafting something else. What might make me choose to not do that now, though, is because of skill. We are not even in a month of Sundays going to be able to craft these at quality 2 for a while. Without inspiration procs. What does inspiration add? 108 bonus skill. We need 162. So what's 162 minus 108? It's like, what, 54 or something like that? So we might be able to, with an inspiration proc, after leveling, be able to proc these at quality 2, but not before. That means I'm not too fussed about making these straight away. As I'd rather craft these when I need them later and give myself the chance of crafting them at a higher quality. Let's then probably continue chipping away at this stuff. I would imagine it's probably going to be one of these, a tool set and an axe, isn't it? That looks the most sensible. Thanks for all the profession videos on YouTube. They made me understand all the things about Dragonflight professions. You're very welcome. There's lots more to come. Make sure you've hit that sub button. How much would it help being a Lightforged Draenei or a Dark Iron Dwarf? It would help. It wouldn't. I mean, you'd be a few points ahead, but not all that much. We were talking about this a minute ago. I don't think the racials are going to impact professions really that heavily. How far do you need to progress in the profession to get the profession weekly quests? I've not worked out this exactly, but some people have reported that you need to get to skill 25 to not only unlock spec trees, but then also unlock the weekly quest. You also need to be level 62, I believe. So there's a little bit of a level requirement. There's also a skill requirement for the weeklies to kick in. And I think the second weekly quest, which is often the fill the work order quest, kicks in once you've hit skill 50. So you're going to find that most people are going to want to level up their professions quite early on, at least to sort of 50, at least to that point where you kind of hit a brick wall when you get to about skill 50, where it's quite difficult to gain skill points. 50 to 100 is going to be the work order grind. You probably want to focus on getting to 50 quite quickly. Let's do a leatherworker's tool set then. And I would presume a draconium axe thereafter. Although we could just craft a second one of these. The cheap option is to create just a second one of these. That will also put us at 31 points. Is that going to be a benefit to us in any way, shape or form? It might smooth out where we go. Maybe I make 2 of these. 2 draconium leatherworkers tool sets. Hang on, what was it called? Draconium leatherworkers tool set. We did 2 of those, didn't we? So that's going to be 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They were guaranteed skill points as well. Learn up, learn up. Primal Waystone. Ooh, these are either going to be really cheap or really expensive. You think, oh look, it's only glossy stone, but then you see it's an awakened earth, and these things could be ludicrously expensive at the beginning. But like I said, does it matter if you then go on to sell them anyway? It's only a single guaranteed skill point we need to get from 31 to at least 35. Technically, we could just craft 2 of these, couldn't we? Is this going to be the cheapest option, though? 4 draconium, 10 ceravite ore, 45 gold in flux. There is still vendor shuffle opportunities with all of this sort of stuff, by the way. Because look at this thing. This thing's got a vendor price of 88 gold. You got 45 gold of primal flux. So you've got, what have you got there? You've got 43 gold to play with. If you get 10 ceravite ore and 4 draconium ore for 43 gold, or less, there's a vendor shuffle there. That does mean you need to be getting, like, your ceravite ore would need to be like 2 gold a piece, and this would need to be like 3 gold a piece, but it will happen eventually. Four draconium, 6 draconium, 6 draconium. I have strong suspicions that the draconium ore is going to be a lot more expensive, so where I can use less draconium, the better. The armor only uses 4. These needle sets are technically 15 gold cheaper because of the... These are technically cheaper because of the flux. But I want to come back and craft the gear when I can craft it at higher quality. So I'm going to do 2 needle sets, I think. That gets us to 35. Draconium needle set. Blacksmithing is really going to be big for profession tools, by the way. You're 1, 2, 3, 4. This is one of the main reasons why I was kind of keen to put blacksmithing so high up the tier list. Because it just makes the profession tools for so many people. And important people as well. Look, you're making it for miners. There's going to be a bajillion miners out there. Skinners. There's going to be a lot of people skinning out there. You're making the herbalist tool. There's going to be a hell of a lot of gatherers. You obviously make the basic ones, but you then also make their advanced ones as well. You're going to have so many customers for these. It's going to be bananas. Now that they've moved the goalposts for like the entry-level goal making, there's without callings, without mission tables, every man and their dog is going to be like, oh, maybe I'll be a double gatherer and I'll print lots of gold that way. All of those people are going to be interested in buying these profession tools off blacksmiths. Oh, not a lot from 35, look. Not a lot. We are going to have to start making some of this then. We've got to get to 40 before anything interesting happens. Is it going to be 3 pairs of these then? Is it really going to be 3 pairs of these? Is it going to go orange though? Yellow, sorry. Do we get a cheeky primal waystone out the way to get us to 36? And then craft 2 of these to get us to 40. When there's a number next to the recipe, is that a one-time skill up bonus? You mean here on the far left? This just means that it will give you 2 skill points. There is a filter to show any. There's a filter that shows any that will give you the first craft bonus. So anything on this list here will give you the first craft bonus, giving you a knowledge point and then 5 artisan's metal to go with it. But my suggestion is not to focus on this while you're leveling. Level in a cost-effective way, and once you are leveled and have got that base level of skill from leveling, then go back and then craft your first one of everything. Because then when you go through this list, you'll be making things at much higher quality than if you do it from the beginning. And probably will make you a lot more gold at the same time. A single awakened fire and 4 glossy stone. Now, I have no idea how much glossy stone is going to end up being from jewel crafters. But it's a byproduct. Glossy stone... What does glossy stone take to craft? Glossy stone costs 2 Eternity's Amber, 3 Rousing Earth, and 6 Crumbled Stone. So not a lot at all. Not a lot at all. Those are going to be... That's going to be practically byproducts. In fact, this is going to be a weird one because jewel crafters are not really going to want to craft these. It uses some of the Eternity's Amber, which jewel crafters are going to have way too many of to begin with. But it's spending Rousing Earth on just consuming Crumbled Stone. Doesn't sound all that attractive. Based upon... I mean, it's an intermediate that's used in a few bits and pieces, but I don't think it's used in enough. Because it's a byproduct mostly from prospecting, it's probably going to be quite cheap. Maybe one of those, and then 2 of these will get to 40. Where do we go from 40? That's likely to give Draconium Great Axe. Draconium Great Axe, where's that gone? Draconium Great Axe, that's only going to give us 2 skill points. It might not even give us 2. Explorer's Expert Gauntlets. Explorer's Expert Gauntlets is not going to likely give us more than 2. We might be forced into crafting 3 of something. Okay. Okay. I don't think I need to cherry pick just yet. Do I maybe make 3 of these just to get to 41 points? I think we probably do. If you happen to be a blacksmith, you'll presumably equip one of them yourself anyway. 3 pairs of Explorer's Expert Greaves. Where's my leveling sheet gone? So 3 pairs of, what did I say they were called? Explorer's Expert Greaves. Is there an A in Greaves? Yeah. You may have noticed I can't spell. 2, 4, 6. And they were all guaranteed skill points. So you can reach 50 first, then keep gaining skill with first crafts. No, not a first craft bonus doesn't guarantee skill points. No. But for the first time you craft something, you will gain a knowledge point, and you'll gain 5 artisan's metal. Your skill points is determined by these little arrows. If it's orange, it's going to guarantee you a skill point. If it's yellow, there's a high chance of gaining a skill point. If it's green, there's a low chance, and if it doesn't have an arrow at all, it won't give you any skill points. Or skill ups, however you want to, you know, whatever terminology you prefer. So from here, we have the Great Axe, so we have the Gauntlets to give us 2 points each. We're likely to need to craft at least 2 of these to get to 45. Great Axes are going to use a lot more Draconium ore. 2 more Draconium ore to be precise. I mean, 6 and 12 or 10 and 20. It's a no-brainer. We're going to make these then. 2 of those, I would guess. That's given us 45. Explorer's Expert Gauntlets. We made 2 of those. They gave us 2 skill points each. That got us to 45. From here, let's have a look what we can do. Either the Stiletto, 6 and 12, 6 and 12. This only uses 2 flux as opposed to 6 flux. So 40, no, 30, 60 gold saving. So these are going to be much cheaper to craft. We need to get to 50 to unlock these last 2. So we might technically need to make 3 of these. Let's check they don't go yellow too quickly. 1, 2. There we go. We can squeeze 3 points out of those. Bingo. Bingo! Explorer's Expert Spolders. Explorers... Hang on, there's commas in this, isn't there? What were they? Which ones were they? Spolders. Hang on, hang on. My typing is terrible. That looks right. 2 points, 4 points, 6 points. We're at 50. Oh, hang on. Why are we at 52? You what now? How did we get to 52? How did we gain 7 skill points off crafting 3 things? Hello? Am I being dumb, or have I missed something here? We went from 45 to 47 to 49. We should have gone to 51, but somehow we ended up at 52. Okay. I definitely didn't craft 4. We gained 3 skill points for that last one somehow. Did we proc an inspiration or anything on them? We didn't. Okay, that's... See, this has happened a few times to me whilst testing leveling. That doesn't... Okay. That clearly doesn't make any sense. But I guess if it's a thing, it's a thing, right? The gloves were inspired, but even an inspiration shouldn't give you more skill points. I think that's just a bug. I'm quite sure that's just a bug. I can always check the VOD to see, but I'm almost certain. Yeah, because at 49, this would still have given 2 skill points guaranteed. But for some reason, it gave me 3 skill points. I don't quite know why. Okay. Either way, at this point, we can get to... Let's assume we're on 51. We should only be on 51. 2 of these would get us up to 55. And I would assume 55 is as far we can go with guaranteed skill points. What's the difference in price between these? 10 and 20 or 7 and 14? Well, Explorer's Expert Helm is much cheaper then, isn't it? Let's create... what should be 2 of these. Oh, hang on. 1. So, okay. Crafting only 1 of those then gave me 3 skill points when it said it only gave me 2. Something's a bit weird here. You should, in theory, craft 2 of these to get to 55. I've managed to cheese the system somehow. Not quite sure how or why. Okay. Bugs will do bug things. Explorer's Expert something or other. What was it called? Helm. That should take... If you craft 2 of those, you should hit 55. Somehow I managed to pull a rabbit out the hat and do it with 1 less, but hey-ho. Gold Goblin, how we doing? Welcome in, my man. Good to see you. That Inspired 2, does the inspiration give +1 skill point? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think it should. I think it might just be a UI error. There is the possibility that it's meant to give you 3 skill points anyway, but it only gave the 2 number. I don't know. It's very hard to report on these things as well. This is why I do think, you know, streaming this live has its advantages, right? Because at least, you know, I can go, oi, timestamp that. That's when it happened. Video proof. I feel like the crafting orders will not help crafters at all. I mean, people may offer 100 gold for a BIS item and still there'll be somebody crafting it, right? Because 100 gold is better than none. Oh, yeah, crafting orders are never going to make anybody rich. The entire system is works against crafters. The work order system is a convenience thing. It's entirely a convenience thing. It's integrating players from different aspects of the game. It's integrating crafters with raiders and mythic pluses, and you know, it's making a link between those two often very different types of players. But nobody's going to be getting rich off it. The only person that will make a lot of gold is the first person on your realm to access a certain pattern, because they will probably have an outstanding list of orders that they can instantly go and fill as soon as they get that pattern. So the first couple of weeks, there'll be like these lots of mini races going on. People will be speeding through, grinding reputation as hard as they can to get that recipe first, because the first person that gets the recipe will probably have a list of public orders that they can instantly just go fill. And presumably because there'll be outstanding orders, there'll be people that have been slowly but surely offering higher and higher commissions on them. In theory. But we don't know how it's going to play out. But once people have the pattern, there's pretty much nothing stopping those people just logging on. And if there's an outstanding order, which I still don't believe that there will be outstanding public orders. If there's outstanding public orders, somebody can just go boop, 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 boop. It's literally 3 button presses to fulfill an order, a public order. You accept the order, you click craft, and then you click complete. 3 button presses. You might only be able to do that 10 times a day. So the people that want to spend a little bit more time and try and make a little bit more gold will either sit and watch for orders to come in and will snipe the new orders as soon as they come in. There may even be who knows what will end up being, because add-on developers will do crazy things, right? My suspicion is such that people will have, something will be able to scan the work orders, consistently refreshing the page. The second a work order comes in above a threshold of above 1,000 gold or something like that, it'll instantly fill it or instantly claim it. So those high value public orders will get sniped super fast. The word you're looking for is bots. Who knows? But of course, their effectiveness is limited, right? Their effectiveness is limited. That you can only fill 10 public work orders a day. The way to make gold with the system is to build relationships with other people on your realm. And it is to maybe even get yourself into one of the big raiding guilds. Not to raid, but just to be the crafter there, right? Bring your alts in with you. Have people in the guild put in guild orders. And so then you can, set the agreement that you can come along and do something. But for that to work, you have to be better than what is being offered on the public work order system. Because you've got to give people a reason to use you instead of just any old Joe. The number one reason might be is that people are going to be able to specify quality on a personal or a guild work order, where they can't specify quality on the public orders. I don't know how the system's going to play out. It depends heavily on just how people take to it. If they look at it and they go, oh yeah, this is easy, and if people are not that bothered by quality and they'll just bang out public orders for stuff and they get filled and they're like, oh, that's easy, I'll use that again next time, then it'll be a raring success. But if people start using it and people start getting frustrated by it, then they will very quickly abandon it, because nobody really needs that crafted gear that badly. And if they do need it that badly, they'll find a crafter to make it for them. But there's no way for crafters to say, hey, look, I can make this, I can make that. It's the only real way to do it is by trade chat spam, or who knows, some smart person out there might go out and make a crafter.io website or something, where you can find a crafter on your realm to make X, Y, and Z. Maybe it can tap into some API that Blizzard offers or something. I don't know. I'm not that smart guy, unfortunately, but all I know is that the majority of the gold will still be made on the regular auction house. There's no way that crafting orders will ever be profitable. It's a convenience system. It's not a profitability system. This was never... The crafting orders were never designed to make goblins rich. No, the crafting order system was implemented to get people the gear they want quickly. That was the entire reason. That's what I tried. No guild in the top 10 wanted me. So sad. I've not even tried. I'm in a weird position where I probably could go to some of the top guilds and be like, hey, look, I do this for a living, I could probably get myself into one of the top guilds quite quickly and easily if I wanted to on that basis. The reality is I don't particularly want to. I'd much rather just make my millions still playing the auction house, because it's far easier and I can do it when I want. the reason I didn't join the reason I haven't been in a raiding guild for the longest of time is because I don't want to dedicate myself to a bunch of other individuals or a certain time or you know, I can't guarantee that on this night I'm going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. So look what we have here, late stream, probably because somebody's making YouTube money first. Hey, got to make that YouTube money. Gotta make that YouTube money. Why didn't the alerts go off? Have I got my alerts muted? I have. I'm very sorry. I've got my alerts muted. I'll switch my alerts back on. They pop up on screen, and I do see them in my dashboard, by the way. VinMDs, thank you very much for the, was it a Prime? The Tier 1 for 11 months now. Thank you, my man. Appreciate it. They changed it to 10 orders a day. You start with 30. You can see here you start with 30. You can fill out 30, but this is like a charge system again. If you use all 30, you'll log on tomorrow and you'll probably have 10. You gain what appears to be 10 a day, but you start with 30. We'll see, we'll see. Who knows? Other individuals are stupid and needy. Well, that's one way to look at it, I suppose. Welcome in, Gumdrops. How's your lunch? Is it your lunchtime now? It probably is your lunchtime, right? It's about midday for you, I reckon. Our crafter's going to have to do high-end PvE content for the BIS recipes. No. There's zero requirement for a crafter to do anything other than craft if they don't want to. The only gating of recipes for you is primarily via reputation, renown, locks away a lot of your professions. There are a few recipes that drop in the raid, but those recipes appear to be bind on equip, which means they'll be on the auction house. Now, you'll have the choice, obviously. Either go do some PvE content or buy the recipe off the auction house off somebody that's already done it. Your choice. Right, that was blacksmithing, though. That's about as far as we can get with blacksmithing then. So 55 seems to be where blacksmith caps out. At this point, you're either... Well, the sensible thing now, once you've got blacksmithing here, is to then... Now you've got a nice base of 55 skill points. Plus you'll have at least 6 skill points by equipping your draconian blacksmithing hammer. Now you're at 61 skill points. You see, all of a sudden, you can now go back... You can go back through the stuff you haven't crafted yet, claim your first craft bonuses, whilst also guaranteeing these at quality 5 using basic materials. So this is a win-win situation right now. You're going to make these at much higher quality. Everybody else that levels up by just farming first craft bonuses, when they come to sell their explorer's chestplate, and their version is quality 2, and yours is quality 5... Guess whose is going to sell quicker? And guess who's going to sell for more? So this is why I sort of recommend that people don't farm their first craft bonuses until they've at least leveled this up to, you know, where it slows down. Because then you can go through and you can craft all of these things. You can make them at top quality. And you'll instantly be able to sell them. Recuperating all of the cost of making it. Plus also probably making a substantial amount of gold on top. Because you'll also have the advantage of that yours will be significantly higher quality than everybody else's that made theirs whilst leveling. It is a bit of a 5-head move, but this is the kind of level that I think about things. So there's defo some world/dungeon drops of inscription recipes I've got a few times on the beta. Yeah, there's loads of them. Luckily now my cheat sheet does have all of the recipes for all of the different professions listed here and where you get them all from. There is a lot that are considered like world drops. You can see a few here are listed as auction house. One drops in the raid, one comes from primal storms. This is going to mean that this isn't going to be a thing until season 1. Drops from chests of the elements. So there's a few that'll end up in the auction house. Rhinestone sunglasses, these are going to be fished. Can come from draconic recipe in a bottle. You'll probably find it on the auction house though, because nobody wants to do fishing. But it's all tracked in here. Right, that was blacksmithing pretty much done. What I can probably do now is... I mean, I can practically delete this whole section because it's both out of date. Oh, it's so out of date. This was telling me to make like 7 draconium needle sets. Yeah, the leveling path was completely different. Let's just let's get rid of that. That's no longer applicable. I should probably then shift this sheet about to make it look a little bit more like this one. How did I do that? 5,000 bundles of cards opened 2 days ago. Still only a 2.2% ace rate. Looks like it's going to go live like that. I was really expecting the Dark Moon cards to be completely like redone completely, but it appears they're not, which just means they're going to be bonkers level expensive. Maybe they might even end up being so expensive that people aren't able to, or should I say, are not willing to buy the trinkets. It's going to be hard to tell. It's going to be hard to tell. Is there a link available for the spreadsheet? The spreadsheet's for subs, Patreons, and YouTube members. But if you happen to fall into one of those categories, firstly, thank you. And secondly, you'll be able to find your link to the cheat sheet in the Discord. Have I looked at engineering lately? Too much stuff going on at work for me to have even have Twitch on in a second screen. I've not looked at engineering too recently, but I will be looking at it in the next day or two to take a revisit to the the leveling of it at the very least. Where are the profession trainers in Orgrimmar on the beta? I don't see them in the Valley of Strength. You have to be on the Valdrakken server. They're only on the Valdrakken server. You'll need to make a character there. Right, A through till M. Push these over. One more for good luck. We can always delete them. Leveling path becomes... What did we change the name of that to? Oh, just maths and calculations. That's very... Right, that should give me lots of space there. How did I have it on here? Yeah, Twitch subs, tier 1 or Prime. Links in the Discord for those. The Discord bots should handle all of the... Discord bot should handle all of the roles to give you access to the right channels with the right links and whatever. Spec builds then I put next, and then I actually bumped over... Okay, I bumped over the patterns and locations to S to V. S to V. S to V. And then we squeeze in the spec builds, which I haven't actually done yet for blacksmithing. This is also the wrong. delete this. This was my initial template. I suddenly realised, though, that actually the profession tools, I was expecting there to be a variety of profession tools and a best one to use, but there just really isn't. So let's take that whole section. And that squeezes in there. That looks about right, doesn't it? What width are these? What width are these? 92. That's a very odd number. Why have I chosen 92? That probably wasn't by design, was it? Get rid of all of this. Okay. I'm going to have to do this like 10 times for all the different sheets, but no issues. Builds can go in over there. Leveling is now in the other sheets. Beautiful. I need to go through and I need to leave. See, what I've done on this is if people want to know the materials needed for each step of the process, I have listed them as notes. What I probably will do is once I've at least got all the information in there, I'll go through and I'll just give people shopping lists. If you want to follow this, buy these materials and you should be done. Oh, what was the other thing we were equipping? Equip this. It was the Draconian Blacksmith Toolbox, wasn't it? Let's check with this, actually. Do we learn... It's going to be 25, 50, 75, and 100. So 25, 50, 75... 75, and finally the last one at 100. For the different spec when you unlock the new specs. Okay, that makes sense for now. That'll do. Nothing through blacksmithing was ever not guaranteed, which is nice. Nothing frustrates me more than when you have to, you know, craft 3 of these if you're lucky, or craft 12 of these if you're unlucky. Nobody likes that. Everybody prefers guaranteeds. Scary moment last night with the new NA beta refresh. Tried to do some personal crafting orders for alts, but then the wording "can't craft personal orders" showed up on my screen. Looks like it's been fixed this morning though. Whew. Well, that's good news. Yeah, I really, one of the big things, the interesting thing for me about the whole system is that it feels very much like it's designed for just crafters to make gear for themselves. It's really weird. It's a very intuitive system to use if you're a crafter. But you look at the crafting order system and it's by design, like it's weird, right? Because it's not intuitive for people who aren't crafters. But the main target market for the public work order system is not crafters. It's kind of got its wires crossed a little bit, but who knows? I still feel we are going to suffer from the fact that this has had like 5 minutes of development time given to it. That if they'd actually put crafting orders on the beta like a long while ago with everything else, that there would have been far more time for us to go, this isn't working very well, or we could do with this, or this might be helpful. But with all of a week before the beta went into release candidate mode, I'm pretty certain that what we have is what we're going to get with with the crafting order system.
Go in.
Now we've leveled this, what might be sensible to do is power it to 100 from here on out. In fact, it could be then interesting to have a little bit of a look at this. So, somebody's putting through work orders on gear. It might be sensible to have a little bit of a look at this to then showcase, well, where would we go from here? We can see what is guaranteed to give us skill points from here. We can also see that all of this gear is either going to come from auction house recipes because it drops in the raid. If it drops in the raid, we can see we're not going to get it for a while. Some of the PvP recipes we might be able to start seeing on the auction house quite quickly, but they're going to be expensive, obviously. We could start speccing into certain things to get things that are going to give us skill points. None of this, though, is anything that we can mass craft and sell to gain skill points. It's all work order bait. Every single one of these patterns is work orders. Is there anything now for a blacksmith that's not a work order that might give us a skill point? Bind on pickup, bind on pickup. All of the weapons, bind on pickup. 14 different endgame weapons blacksmiths makes. Lord. Blacksmiths are... The only saving grace is that blacksmiths might have access to all of the weapons, and the one piece of gear that people are willing to spend gold on to get it the best they possibly can is usually their weapon. So these are all... Primal Molten is all one-handed stuff for the most part, by the looks of things. Oh no, that's not even true to say, because we got the Great Axe here. Okay, so we're going to have to look at making all of this is bind on pickup as well. Master Hammer? What's this? Repair a weapon or piece of plate armor you have specialized in repairing. These could be... How do we get this recipe? Various specializations upon learning to use the Master's Hammer. This could potentially be a way for... Because what I think Blizzard should have done, and I worry the fact that they haven't done this, is if you're on a realm, right, lower population realms, or not necessarily lower population realms, but let's look at what happens later on in the expansion. Or worse still, what happens after Dragonflight. You just straight up can't level these professions. Like, there is nothing that's going to give you a skill point from this point on that isn't an aggressively expensive bind-on pickup item. Which uses aggressively time-gated materials to make in the first place. If you don't level your professions early in Dragonflight, you might really struggle to. Unless they, you know, add some additional system on top. There is only one thing, by the time you hit 55 points, there is only one thing a blacksmith can make that's going to guarantee skill points that's not bind on pickup. And that's a Master's Hammer. And that, to get the recipe, you have to spec quite deep to even get the recipe. And then the thing that you're crafting is bind on pickup. And these are not going to be cheap. These are not going to be cheap. Lord. I guess the answer to all of this is level your professions up in patch 10.0. Don't wait till 10.1, because you never know. You might find it's twice as hard. Will the prices on your cheat sheet update automatically, or will we have to do it ourselves? I can showcase the way it's going to work. You'll need it primarily runs off this one sheet, right? You have a global material sheet. This is the brain of the operation for the most part. Market price will be dictated by the Twitch API, TSM API. If you go on the first page, on the setup page, and pull in TSM's data, this will pull in the realm data and the region data. Once you have all of that data, obviously it doesn't work now because the game's not live. But once the game goes live, you'll be able to pull in all of the prices. Twitch plays goal making spreadsheet, kinda. It'll pull in all of the prices. By default, it will use TSM's market price, but you have the ability to override it to any value that you want. In the early days of the expansion, you're probably not going to use TSM's prices because, as we know, it takes TSM about 2 weeks before the prices start to become at least sensible for most. So in the first couple of weeks, I would suspect that most people will override the prices for most things. There's obviously a lot of stuff, which is why using TSM's API is preferable. I can't even begin to think just how many materials is on this page. There is, how many rows have we got? 110 rows, 4 columns. There's about there's close to probably 350, 400 different materials. Which is obviously, you don't particularly want to be manually pricing all of that stuff. Most people, though, can ignore a lot of it because it's going to not be it's not going to be a material that affects your professions. But eventually, once TSM's prices start to normalize and we start to get reasonable market prices, you can just start to rely on the default market price, of which then every time you come to use the sheet, you can pull in the latest data, and then all of those prices will hopefully filter through. Each profession has its own crafting calculator page where it pulls in the prices that you have selected or have chosen to use from that global material list. It then knows, or will know, once I input all the data, exactly how many of each material it costs to craft something. And this will allow you to also then say, right, instead of using quality 1, use quality 3, and then what's the price gonna be? So you can choose which quality materials you're using for crafting certain things, and it'll adjust all the crafting prices accordingly. Now, most of the professions don't have this data input yet, simply because I'm trying to leave it for the very last minute. The sheets are there. The materials that the professions will need are there. I've done all of this work ahead of time. But it will just, 1 minute before the expansion goes live, you can go through and you can plug in. Right, okay, shock spring coils use 3 of these, 4 of these, 2 of these. Boom, and all of a sudden it'll just all work. And there you go. There's your crafting costs for everything instantly. But yeah, it's still heavily work in progress. And it probably will be work in progress way into the expansion's launch as well. Because for each of the pages, I would imagine once you've got the basic crafting price for things, then what you probably want to do is customize that a little bit further, depending on what your skill is in a certain profession or what you've chosen to spec into. The entire sheet is probably going to be the foundation for people to use. You'll take a copy of the sheet, and then you'll go away and you'll customize it to which professions you use more, and dependent on your skill in those professions and which materials you want to use, and so on and so on. Which we should iterate is not a failure of TSM, just because prices are highly volatile during that period. The reason that the TSM prices take a while to stabilize is because market price is based over a 14-day average. Is the easy way of describing it. Now, of course, until you've had 14 days of data, it's very difficult to have an accurate 14-day average. But there is There is rumours that that is being addressed soon, TM. Okay, I need to update this, but I think for now, if I focus on the leveling. So we got blacksmithing leveling done. Should we do engineering? Engineering's a pain in the ass. Should we do engineering? I kind of want to get engineering out of the way just because I know it's a pain in the ass. What do I suspect the engineering leveling path to look like? Yeah, it's an absolute pain in the ass build. But I have done it to some detail previously, which is good. Okay. Ooh. Before we jump to engineering. Yeah, if I leave this character at this point, then I can come back and I can check the specs for blacksmithing. I want to get the leveling paths done first, as I think that's more important. Okay. Right, new character time. New character time. Oh yeah, I did spell agent completely wrong, didn't I? Angient. Okay. We need an engineer. That'll do. Yeah, engineering's a pain in the ass because there's so many flipping intermediates you have to deal with. And the way that engineering should probably be handled when it comes to leveling is by mass producing those materials that you're going to need ahead of time. So quickly, what do I expect? Craft a buttload of Tiravite bolts. Well, they're not even called Tiravite bolts anymore, are they? They're called Ceravite bolts. Craft a metric ton of shock spring coils. Craft a whole load of grease. So we spend the first. Yeah, these go green, but you'll need them later. These go green, but you'll need them later. Craft these until no more skill points can be had. It feels like a lot, but we will use all of these and probably more. Yeah, I remember doing this. I'm actually kind of quite hoping that they've not changed this. So then I don't have to work all of this out again. But they probably have, which is why I'm going to look at it. I know I need some sort of souls for higher level blacksmithing, so I'll have to have an alt level it. Well, the thing is once you get past sort of 50, because it all relies on work orders, in theory you could level from 50 to 100 just filling public work orders. You personally may not... if you're crafting something for yourself, of course, but for the most part, you won't ever need to... You probably won't ever need to buy another material to get from 50 to 100. The irony is that 1 to 50 is the quick and easy but expensive part of it. From 50 to 100 is going to take you a long time to achieve. Potentially, I mean, think about it. The fact that you start with 30 public work orders, that could possibly get you from 50 to 80, if you're lucky. You then still need 20 more, so that's going to be at least 2 additional days of public work order crafting. But by the time you get to skill 80, I would imagine that you stop gaining skill points pretty quickly. Meaning that it's probably going to take... People won't have max level professions for about a week, even if you are like fully on top of it. Because it's going to take 3 days minimum, because you get 30 at the beginning, plus 10, plus 10. So if you need to get from 50 to 100, it's going to take you a minimum of 3 days to be able to do that. But probably more, because when you get to the top, 80, 90 points plus, you probably won't be guaranteed a skill point every time you fill a work order, because the recipes will be, yellow or even green at that point. I like having all my alts with different professions, so the current plan is to slap them all in Valdrakken until I need to level them. You'll want to get all of your crafters to level 62 quite quickly, but the first 2 levels can be done so fast. You can hit 62 in about an hour if you're playing through the new zones. Is it 30 per profession, or would 2 share the 30? I don't actually know. A few people have asked that question, and truth be told, I don't know. When I tested it, it was a little bit bugged. Or I felt it was bugged. I had a character that had 2 professions, and I had 30 work orders available on one, and no work orders available on the second one. So something was funky dunky. Something didn't work. Right, here's to hoping that engineering has not been changed. I'll know quite quickly if it has or not, though.
Ancestors watch.
Let's grab up some materials that it claims we need. Loads of ceravite ore, a bunch of draconium, frameless lenses, and then fire and earth.
Time is money, friend.
Awakened fire. Awakened earth. I'm probably going to need some more of something else, surely. Although I do remember engineering using a lot of earth. Oh, frameless lenses. Are they on this vendor? I don't know.
If you ever need anything.
Where's frameless lenses gone? Are you on here?
Traveler.
Okay, we need ceravite ore times a lot. We need draconium ore times a lot. I find it difficult to believe we won't need casgarite at some point, so we'll buy some anyway. Frameless lenses must be here then. There we go. That should be more than enough. What's specific about level 62 for alts? I think that's the to pick up the weekly quests. I think it's the minimum level required for the weekly quests. Right. Oh, we need one of the multi-tool jobbers. One of those. Right, are we going... Let me follow this, and I will follow this, and if this works, then I'll know what's going on with it. Handful of tyrivite bolts.
Sweet profit together.
Handful of tyrivite bolts times lots. Ginger bearded man, thank you very much for the prime. Appreciate it. Welcome, welcome. Did we say 30 of these? 4 each. Crafts 2 to 3 at a time. Basically craft these until no more skill points can be had. It feels like a lot, but we'll use all of these and probably more. Okay. Well, let's start with 30. Hang on. Hang on.
Looking for something special?
Oh, well, this is a change, actually. Ceravite bolts no longer use rousing fire. Oh, well, there we go. That's a clear indication to me that they have changed something. The first time through, they took a single rousing fire each. And now they don't. And they also took 6 ceravite ore, and now they don't. Okay, so this has had its crafting cost dramatically reduced. There's there's the first change. Oh, I wonder if they've I wonder if that means they've changed the leveling path full stop. Right, well, we're going to need a bunch of these anyway. They go orange at 10 points. Okay, let's do it this way to begin with. I think I'm going to ignore this because I have a sneaky that it won't matter. Right, engineering. Insert. No. Insert column right. Quantity. Handful of ceravite. Is it ceravite or ceravite? I will learn these materials at one point. Handful of ceravite bolts up to skill 10. This looks like it could be one that is going to clearly require lots of notes. Check how many bolts you were getting. It was always 2 for me and never 3. Might be a bug or change, or without a change the tooltip. I had 18 off 9 crafts. So yeah, I got 2 every time. 2 every time. Might have been a change without the tooltip update. Maybe that could be a thing. Yeah. The fact that they've taken 2 ceravite ore off and removed the rousing fire might mean that they've made it a fixed 2 per. Which I prefer, to be honest, because, you know, engineering's already complicated enough with, like, multiple levels of parts. It makes it a lot more easier to handle if there's at least something that's a fixed number. I do think that greying this out is probably not a bad idea, though. Yeah, 2 every single time. Okay, it goes grey at 15. Did anybody remember when it went green? I think it was green from there. Uh, 15, that was 9. Let's just say 70, no, probably 20 to 25 is what's actually needed quantity-wise for that. How many did we end up with? I was getting 2 every single time, and I ended up with 48. So that's what 24 crafts it took me. It took me 24. So let's just say 23 to 26 crafts, probably, to get those until they're grey. Cards from the bundles did that as well. Same cost, but your earlier tests had random totals. Now it's always been 2 per. The very, very first time I tested Dark Moon cards, I was getting like 2 or 3. But in the last 6 to 8 weeks, it's been pretty consistently 2 per pack. There's nothing that's changed that. Are you planning on creating a video with your plan for Dragonflight for mains and alts? What you have to do first, which profession you'll get first, and for how long, and so on. Probably. I know people somewhat have interest in, you know, exactly what I may be doing. But I tend not to... it's weird, right? Because I understand that those videos, you know, they tend to do quite well with views. But I never really think they're that useful. Because what I'm doing barely makes a difference to what most people should do. My situation is probably very different to practically everybody else's. The optimal way, annoyingly, the optimal way to deal with professions going into Dragonflight is to do a whole bunch, is to dedicate yourself to one character and do a whole bunch of shuffling of professions. To gather yourself as much artisan's metal on the cheap as humanly possible, and then take the professions that you actually care about. This optimization for the first week is a bit gross. That is probably something that I should probably talk about, because there'll be some people that will be slightly annoyed if they miss out on that. People just want to know the profession's meta. Yeah, see, that's my thought. I don't think people really care so much about what I'm doing. And truth be told, the way that I'm going to play Dragonflight's actually really boring, because my professions are fixed. I'm not dropping my recipes on any of my characters, because I've had those professions on those characters for many, many years. But the optimal way to do it is very different. You need to be cycling, herbalism, mining, skinning, probably some of the other, probably tailoring. There's a good chance you want to probably cycle through a few of the other professions as well. Then take the final profession that you actually care about. Then level that profession up. Then go make sure, and during doing all of that, you probably want to do the weeklies for each of those as well to gain extra reputation. It's a real gross meta for professions, which I think you might be right, actually. The more I think about it, it might be a good topic for a video. But it's the sweaty, it's the, you know, it's the real gross, you know, absolutely min-maxing at all costs approach. Which some people will do and some people will take advantage of it. But it's a bit gross. Okay, well, because we got to 50 by making nothing but bolts, we ended up with loads of different options here. Loads of options. It clearly feels sensible to me, though, to start spurging out and craft just like loads of these other intermediates, because once again, it's not like we won't use them. And that seemed to play true with what I believed to be the way previously. Make a whole bunch of shock spring coils. Same as with bolts, gain all the skills we possibly can from these. These go into so many crafts further on down the line. 15 to 18, greased up gears, make a bunch of them. They're green, but we're once again going to need them later. This is the story of engineering. You make a whole bunch of stuff just because you know you're going to need it. And you might as well make it while you can gain skill points from it. So, let's max out shock spring coils, I guess. At 6 per, we can't even get that far, I reckon. We might get to 20, 25 with these. I want a nice round 50. That was 25. Let's see if we can get 5 points off these. Can we get to 20 easily? Okay. 5 of them got us to 20, and then it went orange. Shock. Spring. Coil. Was it a shock spring coil? Was that what they're called? Shocks hyphenated spring coil. We did that up until 20. And it was orange while we did it. And it was 5 crafts. The question is do we continue that even further? Do we push that as far as we can go with it? Maybe, unless there's something else that's even more attractive. I don't think we do. Because the same theory for me applies that your first time craft bonus, you're going to want to craft one of everything at least once anyway. But you kind of want to delay crafting one of everything for as long as you possibly can, because then you'll have more skill and produce it at better quality. So although these do offer good skill points right now, I think we still just zerg intermediates as far as we can take them. I also only got 1 shock spring coil every time. I crafted 5 and I got 5. I wonder if these tooltips are wrong. I wonder if they haven't updated the tooltips. 1 to 2 would mean that you'd at least expect to get 2 occasionally. Or maybe it's going to be a skill thing. Maybe once you're also pushing higher quality, you then also have a greater chance to get, you know, to the 2 side of it. If I want to craft 10 of those, though, I need 60 Ceravite bolts in the first place just to craft those. Okay, that's already up to 30. Green at 22. And I guess we can push from 22 to 25. Wow, okay. We're going to need a lot more Ceravite bolts. Let's do 10 more. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've done 10 more, so let's up that to 40. Good tip for the people who are going to level engineering. You get lots of rank 1 bolts and blasting powder from dirt piles. You also get some gears and coils. Oh, do you? Oh, that's quite cool. Don't you have to spec into that though? Isn't that a isn't there some if I remember right, isn't there like a scavenging thing with engineering? Which you're not going to have access to until you've at least leveled first. Or did I make that up? I might have made that up.
Is that your wallet? Or are you just glad to see me?
Where's V? Thank you very much for the prime.
Both, I
Appreciate it. I swear there's a spec that gives you something for... Hang on, what's it called? I swear... See, rummage through scrap. Rummage through 5 pieces of scrap in the effort to find sellable junk. Isn't it this? Isn't it that you gather scrap by being an engineer? And then you can, you know, shuffle through it to find something that might be useful? Is it this, or do you just straight up get bolts and blasting powder from dirt piles? If you do, that's quite cool.
Is that your wallet? Or are you just glad to see me? Both, I hope.
Abominizer, thank you very much for the prime. Appreciate it. Welcome, welcome. See, I'm all about that Twitch money too, yo. Not just the YouTube dollar. I forget I have primes to give away. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Let's... Okay, another 10. Lord, we need Ceravite bolts like a crazy person. That's technically up to 50 at this point.
Let's make sweet
Lord.
profit together.
K. McCarthy, thank you very much for the prime. Thank you. That's a very strange way to spell kamikaze. But I appreciate it. Can we get this one last skill point? Yes, there we go, 25. So it grays at 25.
Is that your wallet?
How many spring coils did we make? What was that, like 7?
I hope.
And Archlee, thank you very much for the prime as well. Bit of a prime train on the go, boys and girls. Subs, gifts, or bits to get your funky emotes. 10, 16, which means we probably press this button 8 times to get here. Maybe I should, for the quantity, 5 as minimum. No, it's going to take us 8 to get here, right? Five. No, we must have crafted more than that. Hang on, where's the rest of my shock spring coils gone? Hello? Well, I've only got 14 of them. Ah, I've only been getting 1 per craft, so I probably did press the button 14 times. So we got 5, 6, 10, probably, let's say somewhere in the region of 12 to 15 crafts, I think, of those. Mine side, thank you very much for the prime, appreciate it. God, I'm borderline selling out at this point. Give me all of those Bezos bucks. Appreciate it, boys and girls, thank you. Let's also craft this until grey. Instead of a Google spreadsheet, would you ever prefer a website? I've considered it. I've considered making it a web-based thing. God's honest truth is it's a lot more A, expensive, and B, complicated to turn it into a website, and it's not the skills that I personally possess. I can make basic websites, but I'm not super... It would take a lot more time and effort to convert all of this into a website, I think. Although, in some regards, it would be more flexible. Now the question becomes, is do we make a bunch of greased up gears even though we don't get skill points from them anymore? Now that we've hit 25, we might now actually start to craft like a normal person. And actually make some things. Although, making intermediates and then making things later is a sensible choice. We need greased up gears to make these reinforced machine chassis anyway. We've made a whole bunch of shock coils. I wonder how many of these reinforced machine chassis I actually end up using though. I'm not sure if I do use many of them from this point on. Because we're very quickly going to run out of stuff from here anyway. What did my original level through of this say? I knew engineering was going to be a pain in the ass. Because it was the first time round. See, we were still churning away, making greased up gears, making ever-burning blasting powders. We were, in the original build, struggling to get to 25 in the first place. But once we did get to 25, we then crafted a boatload more terabyte bolts because we were going to need a whole bunch more of them. We then funneled those into haphazardly tethered wires. And that practically got us to 50. I think this is the area that they fleshed it out. Would you mind if I copy parts of it to a website while I'm bored before Dragonflight? Well, yeah, I would. I've put a lot of time and effort in this. I don't want... I mean, arguably there's nothing I can do to stop you, but I would prefer it if you didn't. Do I... Because these things now only use the ceravite bolts. They've obviously changed the recipe for this as well. Where do we go from here? I knew this was going to be a more complicated one. We're going to need arc-light capacitors later on. They're going to use awakened order. They're also going to use greased up gears. So we probably should make some of these anyway. Oh, this leveling path is confusing. Maybe we just start banging out these wires straight away. $30 points gets us to there. 4 rousing earth and 3 ceravite bolts. I mean, that's pretty goddamn cheap. I don't think there's anything that's going to be cheaper than that. From a leveling point of view. These, we might need them eventually. But they use a lot more components. I think we just make these, you know. Haphazard tethered wires. 5 of these get to 30. Let's see. Let's see how that feels. So now we got to 30. Where's my sheet gone? Haphazardly? What was that word? Haphazardly. Hang on. Some days I swear I'm dyslexic. Haphazardly tethered wires. I'm good with numbers but terrible with words. You may have noticed. Although I can talk to save my life. I can talk forever. But when it comes to spelling, my god. I'm a moron. Did we get 2 each time for these? We did. We got 2 for each craft. So at least these ones are a fixed quantity. Make those to 30. We made 5 of them. Ah. This is probably where the issue lies. Now getting to...
Are you just glad to see me? Both, I hope.
Moomin! Are you finished by chance? Or is that just a convenient name? Thank you very much for the prime. I appreciate it either way. Maybe we head back and start crafting some of these now that we've hit 30. We've got to get to 35 before we get anything else. And I feel that this might be where it starts to slow down a touch. I'm Polish, but we got Moomins, which were called Mummins in Poland. Oh, I see. Okay. Welcome in. Thank you for the prime. See, this is where it would be nice to know what's coming. What's coming ahead of us that we might look at crafting, and what does it need? Ceravite bolts, burning blasting powders, Ceravite bolts, shock spring coils. We might need to start mass crafting a bunch more Ceravite bolts at this point. Just as now we should be able to make them at quality 2 guaranteed. Hello from Brazil. Wow. The other side of the world. Welcome in. I tend not to get many viewers from Brazil. Maybe on the YouTube, actually. I've seen a fair few viewers from Brazil on YouTube. If we crafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... If we crafted one of each of these, we'd put ourselves at 40. Assuming these stay at plus 2 skill points. That would get 30 to 40 with 5 crafts. It would get our first time bonuses, sure. But do we... Is that going to be a cheaper and easier way of doing things than just making a bunch of these? We need a whole bunch more of these anyway, so I'm going to make another probably 20 of these at this point. Because now we're guaranteeing them at quality 2. We can use these new higher quality ones in the upcoming crafts. So we've actually now made 70 of these, my lord. Well, 70 in total. Maybe this is where I should have split it down a little bit. We should probably make 50 to begin with, and then an additional 20 in the second batch later on. Right, so now we've got a bunch of those. We need some greased up gears. What do we need for greased up gears? Rousing fire and draconium ore. Five arc-light capacitors here might not be a terrible idea. Although Kazgarite ore, greased up gears and awakened order, these are going to be expensive. You're going to want to make these as and when you need them. For the purpose of getting skill points, these are expensive. Annoyingly, I just want to make, I think, 5 of these things. But that feels really dumb. 4 draconium, 3 bolts, 3 springs. If they use draconium ore, if it uses draconium ore, I want to limit the draconium ore. The hell is a smudge lens? I don't know what's going to be the cheapest out of any of these. There's not really any easy way to tell. Oh, they're expensive. 2 arc-light capacitors each. Not making those for leveling. Okay. The option is then reinforced machine chassis and make 5 of them and then see what this gives me. Or make 4 of these if we need them. I don't think we actually need these reinforced machine chassis for much. These go into like endgame crafts more than anything else. Smudged lens is a vendor item. Yeah, I seem to remember it being expensive as well. It's like a 30, 40 gold vendor item. Because we're going to unlock the binoculars, but we're probably not going to be crafting them. We do need some ever-burning blasting powders. I know that for sure. That's coming. But we make those whenever we need to make those. How many orders can one character do a day? You have a 10 public work orders a day. You start with 30, but you charge 10 more a day. It's really difficult to suggest people to just craft 5 of these, but the more I look at it, the more of a sensible option it is. It's only using bolts, it's only using coils. A frameless lens is not going to cost you much at all. And it's 2 pieces of draconium ore. And it's simple and straightforward. And the question is can we get this to 40? If this pushes us to 40, we're good. Right, we're going to start with 3 of them. Oh, it didn't go orange. Is this fish friend considerably cheaper? No, because it's still using draconium. 2 more it is. God, it feels really odd suggesting people just craft 5 of these things. But it really is the optimal way of doing it. That feels very weird. Okay, draconium brainwave amplifier. Draconium brainwave. Is brainwave one word? It must be, right? Yeah. We made 5 of those. That took us all the way to 40. They were guaranteed skill points. $10 public, but no limit for personal. Correct. Yeah, personal and guild orders, you can fulfill as many of them as you receive. Obviously, each one is going to take... the theory goes, obviously, this is only a theory until it launches, but the theory is that personal orders are going to take quite a lot of effort on your behalf to actually get. Because you're going to probably need to talk to somebody first, tell them what it is you're able to craft. They're going to need to then offer how much they're willing to pay you for that craft. You're then going to probably do some haggling, some wheeling and dealing, and then finally you're going to get them to put in the personal order for what you've agreed. So there's going to be a lot of communication going on for personal orders. Guild orders, it's going to be a little bit different because people can put a guild order in and they can just say, right, anybody in the guild can make it with the same restrictions or lack thereof that is with a personal order. You hope. Like I said, there's a lot of this is kind of a bit of, you know, it's juggling theory at the moment, but that's how it feels at least. Which is probably why they're not capping like personal or guild orders. For subs, the sheet's available. Yeah, subs, Patreons, or YouTube members. I'm trying to make... By the time I've finished making it all, pretty much everything that's in the sheet is going to be converted slowly but surely into YouTube content. So I'm not... What I'm really keen to put across is that I'm not, you know, trying to sell this or to keep secrets or anything along those lines. It's just it takes me a lot of time and effort to both make the sheet in the first place and then to convert it into YouTube content so everybody has access to it. And which is why I'm offering it to direct supporters of the channel first, and eventually everybody will have access to everything. So, like I said on the Discord, I'm just waiting for everybody to throw hundreds of personal work orders at people like me, probably without supplying any of the non-mandatory materials. It's going to be interesting to see, because obviously being somewhat in the public eye for this, and I don't make any efforts to keep my characters a secret. In fact, I almost go the opposite. It's somewhat of an advantage for me, for other people to know who my characters are and on what realms I play and all of this sort of stuff. So I do wonder if that might be a thing. I wonder if I'll log on onto some of my characters and they'll just be public orders for me, personal orders for me to fill out or not. I don't know. I don't know how many of them will end up being low-value trolls. Well, you can't spend any time on the internet without coming across a few trolls, so I imagine there will be some. But most people don't go too far out of their way to troll in this stream, at least. I tend not to attract that type of person too much. But they're what's often referred to as famous last words. We will see. We will see. Have you decided to go to one of the bigger servers with your main, though, to have the possibility to make more from orders? I am still heavily considering moving a lot of my characters to a bigger realm, yes. Not strictly because of work orders, just because my playstyle suits being on a bigger realm. Now, a lot of what I will be doing will still be dealing with the auction house and the region-wide auction house, so arguably you can do that from anywhere. But, you know, it still does have its benefits being on a bigger realm. You know, you want to put groups together. You want to, for starters, being alliance is a big downside if you ever need to put groups together to do stuff. I know everything is a little fairer nowadays, and alliance can group up with horde for instance content and stuff like that, but there is still restrictions in place. It is just categorically easier to be horde. Which means I need to decide, do I want to race change a bunch of characters and do I want to transfer them to another realm, which could get quite expensive quite quickly. So I've not really decided. I should make these decisions, but you know, I procrastinate with this sort of stuff. I'm not good at making decisions like that. Right, what are our options now then? These have gone yellow, so my desire to make these is pretty slim now. Although these tinker removal kits start to look pretty attractive to make. Shock spring coils, ceravite bolts, draconium ore, guarantees a skill point. We can produce a bunch of them. They're not really all that useful, but they're not going to be very expensive to craft. If nothing else, it should push us to 45, probably. Are they going to be any cheaper or any more expensive than this thing? Rousing fire, bolts and springs. Bolts and springs. Do we reckon draconium ore is going to be more or less expensive than rousing fire? I don't know. I don't think it matters too much, does it? 2 and 3. 2 and 3. Tinker removal kits, I think, wins, probably. We'll just do overcharged clockers. Increases your resourcefulness by 33 and inspiration by 30. You never know, they might actually be useful. They might, if you craft these, you might actually use them. The tinker removal kits, you craft them, but you might not actually end up really having much use for them. What do we need to do? We need to probably try and get to 45 and then make a few of these. Burning blasting powders, ceravite bolts, rousing fire, ceravite ore. That's probably... Is this Pew 2 going to give us... How many skill points is this going to give us? I'm putting way too much thought into this. I really shouldn't have put this. This is going to give us 3 skill points once we learn it. So if we're clever... If we're clever, we make something to 46. Then we make 2 of these. That will put us to 49 and then 52. So we need to get to 46 points. Do we need arc-light capacitors for these at this point? I don't think we do. Okay. We need some more springs either way. If we need more springs, we need more rousing earth. 3 each. 3 times 5, we need 15 of these. Okay, we need yet more bolts. Oh god. Yet more bolts. Let's make another 10 and see how that does us. Let's track the fact that we made another 10. Horde Master Race. It's somewhat frustrating that that is the case. I also am very tempted on my main character to re-roll it to human, because 10% rep is 10% rep, 10% less rep I have to grind, you know. That 10% bonus adds up really goddamn fast when you're grinding rep on multiple factions. Yeah, I've not decided what I'm going to do. I am Mr. Indecisive when it comes to these sorts of things, unfortunately. Wow, I can still only make 8 of that. I need more of these then. My god. Another 10. How many did I say I needed? 15 and I've got 4. So probably another 10 of these at least. Because it does claim 1 to 2, but I've never had 2 proc. Human horde hunter. Yeah, I can't have everything, can I? The thing is I might go human just for while I'm grinding rep and then switch to something horde after. I don't know, is the honest answer. Now let's see if we ever make 2 of these at a time. Okay, we never made 2 of these at a time. I think this tooltip is just wrong. I don't think it's actually 1 to 2. I think it's just straight up just 1. It means we made another 10 of those. Besides beta / dragonflight, are you a TSM user? Very much so. I don't think there's much about TSM I don't know how to use. This is what 10 years plus experience with the add-on has. Okay, are we able to make enough of these? That no, we're not. Okay, one more. Go. Oh, what? Now we're out of more. We need yet more bolts. Oh, my lord. How many goddamn flipping bolts do we need to make? That was another 10 of those. So we made 50 at the beginning just for leveling, and we've made 50 more since. Mr. Norton, how are we doing? Welcome in. Yeah, slightly off-schedule stream. Just, I'm trying to stream as and when I have time to stream. I mentioned this a bit earlier on in the stream that IRL is a bit busy right now, truth be told, and I'm streaming as and when I have time to do so. It does mean that the stream times are a little bit all over the place. I'm also away for 2 days now. I'm away for the weekend, which I really didn't want to be, but unfortunately I didn't have much choice in the matter. I'm I'm away for the weekend, so that's 2 days where I'm just straight up out of action. So yeah, hope in 3 weeks you'll have no more IRL. Well, the reality, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying my best to get all of the IRL stuff like prepped and done and out of the way before Dragonflight launches, so then when it does, yeah, it's going to be 8 hours of streams a day. That's the plan, or that's what I want to be able to do anyway. What am I missing here? Oh, you need 5 each of these goddamn things. Alright, sure. Right, 5 overcharged overclockers. That should get us to 45. And at that point, I would assume it will go yellow. 43, 44, 45. Oh, it stays orange. Maybe we want to make 6 of these then. Oh, this Pew 2 isn't going to give us skill points even. Oh, I was banking on that giving us guaranteed skill points. Apparently it does not. Okay. Well, wow, that's gross. Okay. We have all of one option. Well, I guess it's not a hard decision when you have one option, is it? Lord. Okay, well, we made 5 to begin with. Let me jot this down so I keep track of what's going on. What were they called? Overcharged overclocker. Overcharged overclocker. We made 5 of them, getting from 40 to 45. They're still orange, actually. So, are we going to just push this to 50? Ugh. Yuck. Mastering this talent, you can learn to craft the Dark Moon Deck Box, Watcher, and extract Awakened Earth. What does it actually mean? What does extracting mean for this spec of inscription? It basically means that you're able to take Earth cards, so Earth Ace through till 8, and you can basically break them back down into Rousing Earth. It's a way of sort of recycling cards you don't need, which will end up happening a lot. The recycle rate on them though is pretty poor. It's not great. Yeah, there we go. 3 to 6 rousing per card is probably about right. The ace gives 5 awakened. If anybody's destroying aces, they are actually bonkers crazy. But yeah, I'm sure somebody will. Right, we need to potentially craft another 5 of these then, so I need to get some more materials to do that. I need 3 times 5, 15 shock spring coils. What's 6 times 15? That's a lot, isn't it? That's like 90 bolts or something stupid. Is 6 times 15 times 2 is 30 times... Fucking hell, okay. Another lots of these. Another bolts times lots. We make 2 per 20, 40. Let's just make another 30 of these. Good lord. I was not expecting to need to make quite this many bolts. I knew engineering was going to be a pain in the ass to level. And I knew it was going to absorb materials like a crazy person. What did I start with? I started with 1,000 Ceravite ore. I'm now down to 500. That's actually... See, it sounds like we're using just crazy, crazy amounts of these materials, but let's not forget, 500 ore is practically nothing. It's really not a lot. Even if you wanted to be like self-sufficient, you could go out and farm that in like an hour or so. This is what I think is going to be a big culture shock to people, I think, in Dragonflight. We've kind of got used to... We've got used in Shadowlands to just having huge demand for materials at all times, which has basically meant farmers have had an absolute field day for an entire expansion. Dragonflight, though, there doesn't seem to be a huge amount that's going to absorb all, like, big quantities of materials. I think materials are going to get pretty cheap pretty quickly in Dragonflight. I'm trying to make these, which means I need 15 shock spring coils, which was more than we have here. Oh, that's because we don't have enough rousing earth. Oh, I clearly don't have enough of these still. Okay, 20 more. Back to the drawing board. That's 100 bonus ones we've made. Do you think it's a good idea to postpone engineering leveling until the mats drop in price? It depends how deep your pockets are. It's a lot of materials. It feels like we're using a lot of materials right now because we're crafting a lot of things. But leveling engineering, if you do it properly, is still probably not going to cost you more than like 30 to 50k. It's not going to be super expensive to do it. But perceptions are blurred, right? I need to kind of also remember that 30 to 50k to me is like pocket change, but I know to a lot of people that, you know, 30 to 50k is quite a lot of the gold that they currently have. And I suppose if you're farming gold in Dragonflight, 30 to 50k sounds like quite... farming gold in Shadowlands right now even, 30 to 50k is quite a lot. But I'm used to spending about 100,000 gold leveling a profession at the start of an expansion, because that's usually just what it costs to be the best and to be the best quickly. Or at least that's what it kind of has done. So like 30, 40k for materials I don't think is too bad for leveling a profession. It's expensive enough for people to not really want to buy all of the materials, but it's not so expensive that everybody feels like they must go and farm the materials themselves. It's kind of a nice little balance there. Right, so we made 15 more shock spring coils. Let's add that to the list. So that's another 25 bonus ones of those. I have a question. If artisan's metal becomes expensive, do you think it'd be worth training an unwanted second profession, farming it for metal for use on your primary profession, and then switching? Well, it's bind on pickup, so it's going to be very difficult to put a price against it. The likelihood is, though, is that it's going to be inherently valuable because you can't sell it or, you know, do anything with it, and you will always need more of it. But it's not going to have a strict gold value because it can't be traded. I wouldn't be too surprised, though, if there starts to become a bit of a unwritten rule about how much it's worth. Every time we've had a bind on pickup material, people have always tried to assign a gold value to it. Expulsum back in BFA, for example, it was not too uncommon for people to value Expulsum at about 500 gold each, because it took time for you to get it, but it was bind on pickup, so you couldn't trade it, but you could kind of shuffle to get it, so it kind of took a certain amount of materials. It's always very difficult to price bind on pickup materials, so it's hard to say, but yes, there's the meta, which we'll probably talk about in video format soon-ish. The meta for crafting professions is to play with a whole bunch of professions, to farm first time craft bonuses before ultimately picking your final profession with a nice stockpile of artisan's metal to then level that up. So yeah, that's kind of the way that it looks to be the quote unquote optimal way. But that's not even possible for everybody because some people don't have professions that they're willing to just drop. So we'll see. Didn't cost me anything, so it's obviously free, silly streamer. Yeah, I need that on a t-shirt. I farmed it, so it's free. That's got to be a t-shirt one day. Has to be. Right, do we think that this will stay orange until 50? Or is it going to do something stupid like going yellow at 48? Let's craft 5 and see what happens. Please do not go yellow. 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Got us to 50. Okay. That's frustrating. That's really frustrating. Because it's made leveling really boring. But, okay. We actually are crafting 10 of those. And that's taking us all the way to 50. And at this point, we learn our goggles. Yeah, all of the goggles are bind on pickup. And they also require Dragon Isles engineering. So you'll probably look at making one of these for yourself if you happen to be an engineer. And in a weird way... See, how does an engineer get skill points from this point on? Because you're unlikely to fill work orders for these. Or would you? Do you think engineers are going to be lazy enough to get other engineers to make these at higher quality? I suppose you might find, yeah, if people take engineering just because they want the engineering perks but don't want to have the expense of leveling engineering themselves, then they might put in a work order for a set of these, even though they're an engineer themselves. I guess that's the same theory to why the mounts, the engineering only mounts sell, even to this day. That maybe people don't want to level up, you know, they don't want to incur the cost of leveling up engineering. They'd rather pay somebody else to have that thing crafted. So maybe you'll get work orders for these. Especially, I suppose, if you ever want to push these to higher quality, then maybe. PvPers, maybe? Yeah, I suspect PvPers, though, they will actually properly level engineering. Because if you're using engineering for PvP, it's usually because of all of the bombs and stuff that, you know, the utility aspect that you make with the profession. But first time craft bonus, so every goggle times 1. I doubt it. They're going to be too challenging and too resource heavy to just craft 1 of every for bonuses, I don't think. But where does an engineer go from this point on? They hit 50, they unlock their second spec. Where does an engineer go from here? You need to learn the optional reagents. These will give you skill ups. Hey, I wonder if these are easy to... Are any of these going to be easy to get through? You have to spec into this one. They all come from the same one, I think. Gears for Gears. But crafting those will give skill points. The Tinker's auction house recipe might not help you on the first few days of the expansion, but quite quickly you'll start seeing all these recipes hitting the auction house as PvPers do PvP things. Specs, auction house, more spec trees, goggles. Crafting this recipe for the first time will teach you something new. I wonder if they've made that guaranteed. I wonder if they've made this guaranteed. This might mean that engineers are incentivized to craft one of each of the goggles. Because the thing that you might craft ends up being the braces. When crafting goggles, guns, or braces, there's the chance of discovering this. But is there a gun, or is there... Oh, okay, the goggles or the guns? The goggles, where's the gun? I presume it's not this one. Oh, the Pew 2. This also qualifies. Crafting this for the first time will teach you something new. Is that going to teach you... Because your gun recipe you're not going to get until people have access to the raid. Good news for leatherworkers, by the way, is they will sell the bow. And leatherworkers will be able to craft and sell the bow quite quickly. Engineers are not going to be able to get access to their gun weapon until the raid comes out. Good news for leatherworkers. You probably want to craft this one then, just to see if this teaches you, if this happens to teach you one of the braces, you're winning, because these braces, because of the tinker sockets, are, from what I can gather, now I'm no end game player by any stretch of the imagination, but from what I can gather, these braces are looking quite attractive to a lot of people.
Let's make
Just simply because of the tinker
socket
on them. I have no idea how to pronounce your name. Boden Luz Tash. Thank you very much for the Prime Gaming and apologise for butchering your name. Can you put them on the auction house? You can't put these on the auction house, no, but it's like most endgame things, they're bind on pickup, and it'll be a work order thing. But from what I can gather, most people are quite interested in these braces, mainly because braces are not something that is likely to clash with tier sets. Any slot that is not a main stat slot for crafted gear looks quite good. You only get one secondary stat, but double the value, of course, so then it ends up being quite good. Yeah, this is it. If you can get one, you know, if you're, you know, everybody hunts haste at the beginning of an expansion, roughly, not strictly everybody, but the majority ends up chasing haste, simply because you're just slow as all hell when you've got low item level. If you can get, you know, double stack your preferred secondary stat with a tinker socket. What are some of the tinkers doing? Which tinkers are people going to pay attention to? Grant the user invisibility for 12 to 18 seconds. Guarantees the next slotted tinker use to succeed. The cooldown of this effect is reduced at higher qualities. What? I don't know what that means. Breath of Neltharion. Reveal a flamethrower to deal 70,000 fire damage in a cone in front of you for 6 seconds. Lord, that's Twilight Devastation all over again. Super Collidertron. Lock onto a distant target enemy up to 60 yards away after 1.5 seconds. If your path remains unobstructed, you'll charge towards them at the speed of sound. Both you and your target will then be stunned for 1.5 seconds on collision. These are very PvP orientated, but... Grant a magnetic charge that changes periodically. Aim a magnet towards the enemy player. If your polarities are opposite, you will both be rooted. If they're identical, you'll be repelled away from each other. Your target must also have a magnetic charge. What? What is this? That's bananas. Okay. Okay. Vital correctors carelessly cross a few frayed wires within the vicinity of a fallen ally in a desperate attempt to jolt them back to life. With 60% health and 20% mana. Castable in combat. What could possibly go wrong? Well, that's clearly going to be the one that people are going to want, aren't they? A free battle res. Castable in combat. Is this going to end up being... is that going to end up being borderline mandatory in Arena? Wanted to thank you for inspiring me into the full goblin lifestyle in Shadowlands. Made a big number worth of gold with inscription and leatherworking in your videos. Before that, never really embraced the goblin lifestyle. But now I commit in Dragonflight again. Ah, congratulations, my man. Congratulations. That's a big number. Will Zygor have 60 to 70 guides on launch, and do you still have an affiliate link? I do have an affiliate link. It was literally 2 messages up. I presume they will have 60 to 70 guides pretty much instantly. I've not checked personally, but I don't know if there's a command in chat for Zygor or not. There used to be. Exclamation mark Zygor, I think, was a thing. But Streamlabs shouts about it from time to time. Do you know some add-ons similar to Aki's recipe list or an efficient way to track where I get missing recipes? Well, in retail, it tells you. In retail, it tells you now. You can just hover over the info for each of anything you're missing. If you're talking about Classic, though, I'm not sure how it works in Classic. I still think you might need some sort of add-on for Classic, but I don't particularly play Classic, so I'm not too sure. And then finally, we've got the Alarmo turret, which is place a hidden Alarmo turret on a nearby targeted location. If an enemy player enters its detection range, it will alert you of their presence and attempt to defend the area for 30 seconds or until destroyed. These are all very, I think it's going to be borderline mandatory for PvP or serious PvPers to have a set of braces. Because these Tinkers are just too powerful. Some of them are bananas crazy. You know, battle res is just wild. This Breath of Neltharion is... I'm sure that could devastate an entire team in one go if you, like... The AoE potential on that is just ludicrous. And 12 to 18 seconds of invis could end up being a M+ thing for skipping certain packs. I don't know. It's not my forte, the end game, so much, but it does appear to me like these braces might quite heavily be in demand. So unlocking the recipes as these as an engineer could be quite useful. So you probably want to craft... I wonder if you can... It says the first time you craft it, it'll teach you something. I wonder if it's only going to apply the first time you craft something, or whether it can just... Could you just craft 10 of these? Because it's not particularly expensive to make. If this flappy dragon doesn't go away, can we get rid of this flappy dragon off my screen? There we go. I would imagine that if you could just craft 10 of these to try and, you know, scout for recipes. Once you've got these 4 recipes, you'll have no problems. You'll have no problems filling this bar. Because these will probably have plenty of work orders on them. Isn't the first craft just the knowledge point? But it's the fact it physically says... will teach you something new. Or does it say that on all of them? Oh, it says that on all of them. Yeah, maybe that is just the first craft bonus. Okay, then we'll scrap that idea. But even still, the fact that it does say, where's the braces? Recipe learnt when crafting goggles, guns, or braces. Now, this is a gun. It's a gun. I guess we're in the perfect place to test this out, though, aren't we? Let's get the materials together to just make 10 of these and see what happens. I need 50 ever-burning blasting powder. What do we need for that? Ever-burning blasting powder. Shit, we need... That's a lot. Okay. Oh, no, this is easy sauce. This is just rousings. How many did I say I needed? Enough for 50. Right, go. It says 1 to 2. I'm intrigued to see if this is actually 1 to 2 again. If by the time we craft 50, if we actually only end up with 50, we'll know that the 1 to 2 thing's a myth. You need to spec into the discovery. Is that still a thing? If that's still a thing, that's cheeky. Because the game doesn't indicate that very well. I would have missed that. Ah, yeah, there we go. No, it does. I'm just done. Requires specialization, function over form, gear. So you do need to spec into it. Function over form, gear, which is which one? This one. Whenever you craft combat equipment, you have the chance to devise schematics for epic braces usable by anybody. These braces come equipped with a tinker socket. So we need, what, probably 10 points in here. 5 points in here. Oh, it's literally 5 points. It's genuinely only 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Unlock. Boom. Whenever you craft combat equipment. Hey presto. So that's the only prerequisite then. How far did I get with this? Keep going. 32. If you can proc them by crafting these pew guns, you also know that these will then be basically free on the auction house. If people can mass craft these to unlock the bracer recipes, there'll be floods of these on your auction house. Presumably at quality 5 as well. 46 and 4 is 50. I'm out of rousing fires. I also now need a whole bunch more Ceravite bolts. There's a surprise. Testing takes time. I tell you what, while we're crafting these, I'm going to go grab a drink real quickly, and then we'll craft a bunch of these guns. Back in 2. Alrighty. Are we good on materials now then? Are we good on... where have they gone? There we go. 10 of these things. Let's craft 10 of these things and see if they all proc us some bracer patterns. I did the blue goggles since there was a bugged weekly quest that you could turn those in endlessly. Might as well just hold on to the stuff you're making just in case you can turn them in for knowledge quests instead of selling them dirt cheap. Ah, maybe. Sell them now. Buy them again later. There's not usually too much point in holding on to anything. If it's worth something now, sell it for what you can get for it now. You can always spend that gold buying it back if needs be. 9 times out of 10 you win in that scenario, as things tend to just get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper as time goes on. Did it also say... what did it also say? Goggles, guns, or braces? I mean, in theory, these are also goggles. No, there's not going to be quite the same demand for these because you need to be engineers to wear these. But I wonder if these also qualify as something that might unlock. What did the spec actually say? Whenever you craft combat equipment, you have a chance to devise schematics for epic braces usable by anybody. I wonder if it's just a chance thing. I wonder if, you know, if you make the, you know, the higher tier goggles, you have a better chance. I don't know. Let's stop speculating. Let's just craft a bunch of these. 10, go. Okay, we discovered nothing. I think that's pretty unanimous. We discovered nothing. 10 might not be the biggest of sample sizes for this, but you'd have thought if there was a chance that after 10 you'd have, you know, got one at least. If doing the metal shuffle, you can keep all the gear crafted just to disenchant it for enchanting mats. In the respect of shuffle leg, maybe. Yeah. Okay, so I would go as far as to say then, whilst it does say goggles, guns, or braces, it predominantly means goggles, guns, or braces of equivalent quality. So it might need to rely on you filling work orders for these to get the recipes for these. You're not going to get the weapon we've discussed already until at least somebody's into the raid and gets the pattern for this, and you can then buy it off the auction house for whatever ludicrous price they list it for. Okay, but that seems pretty much your path to victory from here on out. You're going to need to spend some spec points to unlock some more stuff. Going the explosives route, I wonder how long these will actually stay at guaranteeing skill points. Can you use the inspiration catalyst on crafted gear? I'm not sure. I've not looked into the inspiration catalyst. I can't see why not. But the honest answer is I don't know. Your renown rep grinds are more for the profession recipes. Oh, that's clever. I like that. Your top tier fishing tool, which will be a big seller, by the way. Your fishing tool. When you are fishing, you occasionally will get these coins. Bronze, silver, and gold coins. You can turn those coins into a big frog that sits in a cave. And he gives you a random thing. An immaculate sack of swag treasure. Within that treasure bag, there can be a whole bunch of different goodies. The recipe for your top tier fishing tool is a reward from those treasure bags. That's quite cool. So you're going to have to do some fishing as an engineer to get the fishing recipe. In theory, you could get that. You could do a bunch of fishing and get this very early on. The recipe is also going to be purchasable on the auction house. So this might end up being one of your first... although that also then means that the actual recipe for this might be quite sought after. And is likely to be quite expensive in the beginning. So it's kind of up to you how desperate you are for skill points. But getting access to this might be one of your quickest and easiest end game recipes to pick up. And you might have also noticed that because it's a fishing one, it doesn't require artisan's metal, which means there's practically no restriction on people putting in a work order for one of these. And I would imagine that that could be, if you can get your hands on the recipe, that might be a very, very quick and easy way to level engineering at this point. Are there any evoker glyphs? I doubt it. I doubt it. There's no new glyphs in Dragonflight, and I can't have imagined that they would have retroactively added any. This could be a real cheat mode for leveling, actually. Because there's nothing stopping you day one. Like, you could be an engineer. Day one, you could get this pattern if you just fish your ass off like a crazy person. Or, you know, just you buy the first pattern that turns up on the auction house. Because it doesn't use arts and metal, you can just craft this a whole bunch of times. I mean, the materials are not going to be... I mean, 2 arc-light capacitors is not exactly cheap, mind you. But if you're really sweaty about getting max engineering skill as fast as possible, this could be cheat mode for engineers to zerg skill points, depending on how long this continues. Because obviously all the other ones are going to use artisan's metal. Because it's a secondary profession, it doesn't. Drops from a fishing coin and handing in the coin to the frog. Yeah, yeah. The frog I talk about is...
We shall meet.
Hang on. I've got screenshots of this somewhere, I think. World of Warcraft. Maybe, possibly. I've got lots of random screenshots in this folder. Lots and lots of screenshots that have ended up being thumbnails. Here he is. Oh, did I even take a video of it? Check me out, I even took a video of it. This is the Great Swag, dude. You turn in the coins. You have gold, silver, and copper coins, which you get through fishing. You then come to this Great Swag, dude. I wonder if in this video I actually show where he is. You turn them in for these treasure bags, and within those treasure bags is a bunch of different stuff. I wonder what I did here. Oh, there we go. Fucking hell, check me out. I even showcase on the map where he is. I clearly meant to turn this into a video at some point then, didn't I? And just never did. I think I probably never did because the rewards that I got out of it were less than impressive. And I didn't have many coins because I hadn't done much fishing to really test. Yeah, I was getting just like stupid mollusk meat. But either way, these gold coins you turn into this big frog dude who's in a cave in the Anaran Plains. And through this, there's the chance of getting a bunch of different recipes, I think, actually. So, yeah. I knew I had footage of that somewhere. Depends on how lucky you get with fishing. Oh, of course. Very heavily dependent, but... Did you have engineering on that toon? I didn't know. But that was all. I mean, that footage is actually really quite old. When did I do that? September. So I probably didn't really know what that thing was, or the fact that there was even recipes to be had from it at that point. All part of the learning experience. But right, okay. I think I'm content with the leveling path for engineering. I think it's a bit sweaty. It's a bit sweaty in terms of that you are, for the most part, making intermediate materials until they grey. Yet more intermediate materials until they grey. A few items, 5 of the same profession tool, and then 10 overcharged clockers, and that's it. It's not very inspiring from a leveling path. Doesn't really give you much to work with, but it works. You end up making huge amounts more of these intermediate materials as you level up anyway. The logic probably would be to only craft the initial amount, because when you then go back and do the bonus crafts, you'll have the chance of making them at higher quality. But the only reason I'm noting down the bonus crafts here is for the purpose of, you know, like a shopping list, to work out what materials you actually need to do this. Do you have to have TSM Premium to get a TSM API key? I don't think so. I think everybody can have access to it. Tradeschoolmaster.com/user. Once you're logged in, it should show you. I'm not going to show on stream because I don't want to show my API key. Yeah, I don't think there's the requirements to be a premium member. Okay, let me switch around engineering a little bit then. This path is clearly broken. Which equally means these materials needed is completely broken as well. Okay. Delete. Boop. Now you see it, now you don't. Right, let's change this sheet up a little bit. Copy this one. Sure. Patterns and locations gets bumped over as well. Ow. Boo. It goes here, doesn't it? Oh, sugar. It goes here. And then... Oh, this is a mess. I've broken it all. I've broken it all. Okay. Engineering. Spec builds. There we go. I just need to space it out so it looks neater. This is also the wrong... Ah, no, not that one. Boom. Now I just actually got to put some information in it. Insert smart words about engineering. This is still a thing. I've still got lots to do on this cheat sheet, as you can clearly tell. But we're getting there slowly but surely. I hope to have it. You know, somewhat finished by Dragonflight launch. We still got time. But at least the leveling path is sorted now. I'm probably going to go through each of the different professions and then call it a day for leveling paths. If anything changes between now and the game going live, then well, I'll have to deal with it later. I can't possibly wait till the last minute to do everything, so I do have to unfortunately run the risk of some things being changed between now and the launch, but I can only do what I can do. Right, 3 of the professions done. We did blacksmithing and engineering today. I think what I'll probably do now then is I will look into some builds for each of the different professions. It makes a lot of sense for engineering to go like bracer spec. I don't know what going full-on bracer spec entails, though. I'm going to need to have a bit of a play around and work out, well, how can we min-max? How can we, firstly, make it so that we can learn the patterns quickly and easily? Because there's no point having a bracer build if you can't get the goddamn bracers. The barrier to entry to this build is weirdly going to actually be about just crafting goggles. You want to fulfill as many work orders as you can get your hands on for goggles. But there's, like I said, that could be slightly difficult because if you want a pair of goggles, the chances are you are an engineer and the chances are you'll craft them yourself. You won't need to put in a work order for them. Especially if to put that work order in, you need to buy all the materials in the first place. What time do you usually stream? My usual stream time, I don't really, at the moment, I don't really have a usual stream time, but I usually stream when it's my morning time. I try to stream from sort of 11 till 3 is when I try to stream, but that doesn't always happen every day. We are streaming a little bit later than what we would normally do today, just because IRL got in the way a little bit this morning. But my schedule is not that strict, unfortunately. I would like to eventually get to the point where it is a bit stricter, but... Time zone, is it? Well, it's, what, GMT +2? It depends out what central you. I don't know. I live in Finland. Put it that way. It's currently 23 minutes past 4 EET. Time zones annoy me. The time zones are one of the most frustrating things to deal with as a content creator. This is also why I never know when to publish my videos on YouTube.
Let's make sweet,
Literally
sweet
never know
profit
when to
together.
press the publish button. And because it's like, well, some people are like, because the majority, it's weird, right? Although my Twitch stream quite obviously has a mostly European-esque viewership because of when I stream, yet YouTube has a very predominantly heavy NA American viewership. So it's really difficult to work out when is the best time for me to publish things or to stream or to do anything like that. But Luna Raystar, thank you very much for the T1. Do appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. It's currently 9:23 AM here. Yeah, see, it's the other side of the world. You're up real early. When do you usually cut up your YouTube videos? Night there in Finland? I don't really have much of a plan of anything or usual anything at the moment. There's just so much, like, in the run-up to something, like, in the run-up to a big patch or the run-up to an expansion, my regular doesn't exist. I do what I need to do whenever I can have time to do it, so. Nighttime in Finland's like 3 PM. Yeah, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm quite sure it's pitch black outside. It's that part of the year, it's that time of the year now when it's cold and it's dark most of the time. Good time to sit indoors and play video games, right? Good times indeed. Let's figure out bracer build then. Let's figure out bracer build. We need to first figure out a smart way to even unlock the recipes. Goggle seems like an obvious one, but well, goggles, guns, or bracers. There's no other real choice there, isn't it? We don't get the gun, so it's going to have to be just filling work orders on bracers or goggles. But then how do we make those bracer crafts yet more efficient? Specialise in the creation and use of intricate gizmos, gadgets, whirly jigs and tinkers. But this knowledge is none of the less invaluable to your growth as an engineer. Gain +1 skill to all engineering crafts per point in this specialisation. That becomes very powerful. That's just a straight up, no messing skill bonus. And you get the wormhole generator as well. Which is actually trashed here, by the way. Rest in peace, wormhole generator.
Let's make sweet, sweet profit together.
Test with 100 guns to be sure. 10 isn't a big enough sample size. You're right, it's not. Issy Hen, thank you very much for the Prime Gaming. Thank you, thank you. You can enhance it to teleport you to a fixed location. The wormhole is just genuinely worse all around. There is nothing about it that's even remotely close to how it was before. If you look at the wormhole generator, it's for starters, it's got a seriously long cooldown, a lot more so than previously. Where's it gone? Here we go. Engineers that specialize into triangulation can learn to warp to specific locations, but by default, it's on a 2-hour cooldown now. Whereas I think in Shadowlands it was 15 minutes, right? The cooldown on it was 15 minutes, and you could specify where it went. It's significantly worse from the word go. Not to mention that it's then you have to spec into it to make it even close to what it was before. Where is it? The cooldown of your wormhole generator is reduced by 50%. So you can get it down to an hour, but you have to spend 20 knowledge points in getting it there. Yeah, that's it. It's just unequivocally worse in every angle. So I can't imagine there'll be... I mean, there were some people that picked engineering purely for the wormhole generator. I can't see those people existing in Dragonflight. But, that said, Dragon Isles is a much bigger zone than Shadowlands, generally. But you don't have to go through Oribos every time. You can just zoom up in the air and zoom to wherever you want to go. You can pretty much, within 30 seconds to a minute, get to any corner of the map you want to. It's a physically bigger landmass, but because of dragon riding, once you've mastered the art of dragon riding, you can pretty much get wherever you need to get super fast. Which in many cases diminishes the need for a wormhole generator thingy anyway, so. Does crafting the non-epic goggles give you a bracer recipe? Well, that's what I'm tempted to test out a little bit now, because we crafted 10 of these and it didn't do anything. Crafting 10 of these didn't get us even, you know, a single recipe. Now, yeah, true, 10 is not a monstrously big sample size, but it was something. Let's maybe craft up some of the goggles, the basic goggles, just to see if they make a difference. I'm going to have to burn through making a whole bunch of intermediates to do this, aren't I? Greased up gears, shock springs, bolts. Okay, let's just make a ton of these things. Let's make a whole bunch of these to begin with. Does crafting non-epic goggles? Yes, but it's on a low chance. Alright, well, we'll do it in batches of 10, because I'm not entirely sure how much time or effort I want to dedicate to testing this. If we can craft another 10 of these, what do I need for another 10 of these? I need another 50 burning blasting powder. Can I buy this off? I bet this isn't something I can buy, is it? Off one of you guys. I just don't want to stand here crafting a whole bunch of intermediates if I can get away with not, you know?
Looking for something special?
Greetings, traveler.
No, I've got to make the damn things. Okay. Back to making bolts. The upgraded wormhole is only going to be for the engineer as well, not even alts. It's yeah, I mean, it's as toys go, it's trashed here now. But like I said, the necessity for it isn't that great. Shadowlands was gross. Like travel time was a big thing in Shadowlands, and I can't believe they got away with it for like the entire expansion, making you have to fly through Oribos every single time. That practically added 2 minutes onto your journey. Like it was just horrendous. There was no need for any of it. Especially since in the early days of the I think it was the early days of the Shadowlands beta, or it might have been towards the end of the alpha. All of the big portals worked, and you could just portal from one place to another. You didn't have to fly, and they made it so that you had to fly through Oribos every time, and people just thought it was a bug with the portals, and they never ever turned the portals back on again. It was a bit annoying. They got away with it because, well, yeah, that is true. There was clearly bigger problems to be had. Clearly bigger problems to be had. Right, let's make some more of these. What else did we need for? We needed bolts. We've got plenty enough bolts now. We can just buy some more ceravite ore, and then we need the ever burning blasting powder. Okay, and then we'll need some more of this. Traveling in Shadowlands is very clunky. Before flying, it was brutal to get around Bastion and Revendreth. Revendreth was a nightmare. The verticality of it just made it so annoying to be on foot. It's why in the first patch of in 9.0 I just sat in the auction house all day. I had no desire to go out into the open world because just getting places was a pain in the ass. It took forever to travel from one zone to another. Like literally 3 or 4 minutes to travel from one zone to another. And when you were in the zone, being restricted to being on foot in a zone that was clearly designed for flying. Not to mention I came out of the Shadowlands beta, of which I had spent much time in the Shadowlands beta being able to fly in the zones. So then when the game went live and I was forced to be on foot, it was horrible. I just spent 9.0 in the auction house, as it was just much easier. Let's buy some more ceravite ore.
I've been expecting you.
I mean, there was good reason to be in the auction house, but significantly more reason than to be out in the open world. That was the problem. Right, 10 of these. Are we going to learn a pattern then? Okay, that's officially 20 of those that we've crafted, and we've not learned a single recipe. Do we feel it's, at this point, about fair to say that it's not possible? Should we do 10 more? I feel I should give it the benefit of the doubt. Test the goggles too. Yeah, I'll craft a bunch of those after as well. Is the mission table? Hang on. Will the mission table have gold orders in Shadowlands and set? No. All of the gold missions on the mission table will probably be removed. Or that's usually what's happened in every expansion past. I can't imagine they'll leave the gold missions on there. Saying that though, there's not really much passive gold generation to be had in Dragonflight apart from just physically playing the game, which obviously has its limitations. So who knows? But I would 99% say that they'll remove the gold missions. Are the Mythic Plus teleports, which you get from doing plus 20s, be usable anymore so we can not reach our mission tables easier? I suspect if you've earned the teleports will still work. I can't see why they'd take the teleports away. Underneath the pew pew gun, it even states that you have the chance to learn it. Oh yeah. Creating this may inspire combat-orientated bracer schematics. Okay. 10 more. Go. Give me a pattern. Oh! difficult wrist protectors. There we go. So it is possible. It's not bugged. It's just a very low chance. There we go. It's either bugged or it's a sample size issue. It was a sample size issue. There you go. Just had to, yeah, RTFM, read the fucking manual. Well, there we go then. So that's a progression path for you being able to access some of these endgame patterns. Now, that's crafting 30 of these is going to clearly mean that the auction house will be absolutely flooded with these goddamn things. Your auction house will have 50 of these before you can blink. That's going to be very good for me as a hunter, because it means as soon as I ding level 70, I will basically have a free item level 343 gun to buy from the auction house. Thank you very much. Now the question is, now at the very same time as doing this, you obviously now have 4 goggles recipes you can fill orders on. You have a difficult wrist protectors you can fill orders on, or one of the 4 presumably. Now at this point you could either then just say, right, I've made enough of these goddamn pew pew guns, because these can proc recipes off themselves. So filling work orders in for these might actually trigger more stuff. But okay, so getting them is going to just straight up require you to craft a whole bunch of these weapons to begin with. I should, in theory, I mean, it ultimately ends up with, you're just going to craft what's ever the cheapest, right? I was crafting these. It depends, just because 5 bolts and 5 ceravite ore is not going to cost you a lot at all. A single rousing fire is not going to be that expensive. It's how much these ever-burning blasting powders end up costing. Each one uses 3 rousing and a draconium. Does kind of give me the impression that these could be somewhere close to 500 gold each. And when you need 5 of them per gun, it could be 2,500 gold just to make, just for this. Let's say it could cost 3,000 gold to make each one of these, which practically then means it cost me 60k, give or take. Or it could end up costing me about 60,000 gold to get that recipe in the first place. The question is making these a cheaper option? A gear, a couple of bolts, a couple of shock springs, and then 2 vendor items. These are actually clearly going to be the cheaper option. Are these all the same costs? How's that different? Is it just the same but in a different order? It's the same, just in a different order. Okay. Yeah, making these is going to be a cheaper option. You'd want to make one of each of these for your first time craft bonuses, and then just mass produce one of them, I guess. Maybe there's not going to be too many of these kicking around in the auction house for free. If I had 100k in mats to make all the guns to get the bracer patterns, it would be worth it. It's only going to be worth it if you can obviously, you know, although there's theoretically nothing stopping you doing this day one. Materials would be expensive, but there's nothing stopping you doing this day one. The likelihood is that your first spark of ingenuity, we still don't know exactly how these are going to be drip fed to people, but the probability is that you'll get your first spark of ingenuity quite soon after hitting level 70. And people will do that within like 5 hours of the expansion going live. So the chances are that you'll start to see work orders coming in literally day one. So if you are an engineer, this actually puts engineering in quite a good position for a goal making perspective. Actually, what did I give it for the? Did I not treat engineering with too kindly in my? I don't think I did I? I have a feeling, you know, that I didn't treat engineering all that kindly. That's not the right video. What's going on here? Engineer is A. Been saying it for a while. I don't think it... Is it A? I don't think... The question is, what else does it have? If all your eggs are in one basket, it becomes risky, because that's what everybody will be doing. Jesus, this video's got 75,000 views on it now. My channel's only got 15k subs. Engineering. What did I say about engineering? Do I agree with myself? The braces. It's a utility profession. Oh, I think I did it dirty, didn't I? Oh, I did it dirty. I did engineering dirty. It's a B. I revised my previous statement. It's clearly a B profession. I still don't think it's going to make any more gold than enchanting. For the reason being is that I think you are going to end up putting a lot of your eggs in one basket. You're going to there's the possibility. Okay, so there's to revisit that theory of whether it's good for gold making or not. You will, as an engineer, have two options. You will be the intermediate junkie, or let's call it the arc-light capacitor spec. Reacting to your own content, next level plays. Hey, it's an unlimited source of content if you just keep reacting to your own content. The arc-light capacitor spec could be a thing, which is quite simply make these things at top quality and sell them on the auction house. Nothing more, nothing less. Simply because anybody that comes along and wants one of the other recipes is going to need to buy arc-light capacitors off you. So make these, sell them on the auction house. What goes into one of these? Shock springs and greased up gears. Okay, both of these are recipes that are not too difficult to get to max skill quite quickly. Although I wonder if they do fall into the same problem of without... Oh, I wonder. I need to test engineering at max skill. But it might be difficult to get these at quality 3. 25 plus the 66 plus the extra 40. Okay, 250 is going to be tight to guarantee those at top quality.
Is that your wallet?
But arc-light capacitors, making these, selling them on the auction house. Getting 350 skill to make these at quality 3 is going to be a pain in the ass. But when you do, you'll sell these for a pretty penny. So that's one part of the equation. Dog Smash, thank you very much for the tier 1. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Optional reagents wise, Tinker's malfunctioning. No longer catastrophically malfunction. This is all personal utility. Healing dart. That also adds an embellishment. Eek. I think people are going to use embellishments in a more... I don't think... When you heal, you sometimes fire a healing dart. I mean, it depends how much that heals for. Are healers going to use one of their 2 embellishments on a sometimes slightly bigger heal? I don't know. Tinker slotted within the device will sometimes dislodge the battery instead of just melt. Okay, these are dead. Tinkers, you've got... Tinkers have some possibility. I wish everybody would get off these fucking dragons all the time. Making my screen blink. Goggles are a weird one because you have to be an engineer to wear them and use them. So there's kind of an instant drawback to these. But the fact that they double up secondary stats and have the tinker sockets, you know, is it 6 of one, half dozen of another? Not too sure. Goggles will be shit because of tier. There's a possibility there for sure. Anything that clashes with a potential tier piece is a problem. You're certainly not going to invest big into these unless you get your 4-piece set from elsewhere and then use your helm for your goggles. But you know, that's really making it. It would mean that these have to be not just good; they'd have to be your bis, which is going to be tough, I reckon. So you'll sell some of them, sure. A few people will have them, no problems. The braces do look good. Braces for PvP look borderline best in slot. And I would not be too surprised if even raiders consider, and people who do Mythic Plus would consider having a pair of braces, because the Tinker Socket and the Battle Rares could be monstrously beneficial. So braces is going to be a really good one. You eventually get the gun, which will make all of the hunters happy. But leatherworking makes a bow, so you're in competition there. Leatherworkers also get to make the bow much quicker than you as an engineer will be able to make the gun. So 50-50 on that one. Dead. Yeah, okay. And then you've got all of the utility that it offers. And you do have a bunch of profession equipment. Who are you making the profession equipment for? The brainwave amplifiers are... What are these? And oh, you're making these for yourself, aren't you? I forgot. I should have equipped one of these. Where's my highest quality brainwave? That also means... Where's my cheat sheet gone? Brainwave equip. You make your own accessory. You make a mining accessory. Anything that makes gathering ones, because gatherers are sweaty as all hell. Weirdly, gatherers seem to have far more of an optimization mindset and are far more likely to try and min-max their accessories, I feel, than even regular crafters. So the mining accessory is good. Engineering... Oh, you make your own engineering tool as well. Who makes the second engineering accessory then? I know I'm bouncing around like a yo-yo again, aren't I? Profession gear chart. Engineering. We make one tool and one accessory. Leatherworkers make the shockproof gloves for us. Okay. We make the fishing tool. Everybody can fish. This could be a must-have item. Everybody's going to want one of these. Because fishing, like it or lump it, is a big part of one of the 4 major factions this time. Everybody's going to be doing at least some fishing, which means, you know, people are inclined to have this. So your profession equipment's actually pretty good. You make Jawncrafters tools, and you make tailor's tools. Okay, okay, yeah, I've done engineering dirty. Engineering might be probably B, top B. It's not A. I don't think it's A, but it's definitely top B. What did we put in for... let me cheat and go to the end. Engineering's probably top B. Is it going to be better than okay, fishing drops down because no longer can you... Fishing was B because you could pay to win your way through the Tuskar rep with fishing. That's been patched now. That's not possible. So that drops fishing down a rank. Is engineering better than skinning, herbalism, alchemy, jewel crafting, or mining? This is almost the gathering one, look. This is almost the gathering row. It's definitely not going to be better than jewel crafting. Because jewel crafting makes jewelry, and jewelry wins every expansion, every patch. Jewelry wins. But it might be low A. It's not B anymore. It's probably low A. It's probably... Skinning could be dead really quickly. I think it's probably sits between skinning and herbalism. From a purely gold-making perspective. Yeah, there we go. I'm willing to change my mind on things when there's good evidence to do it. Okay. Okay, that distraction out the way then. How do... Oh my lord. This is why I don't get anything done. Because I just get distracted by spectral squirrels all the time. Are we going to have to learn every profession to do the first time crafts for artisans metals before leveling the main profession we want to do, or will we lose the metal when a profession is dropped? You will not lose the metal. The metal is sort of generic. Now, it doesn't strictly mean that you're going to have to do it, but there is clearly an advantage to doing it. That advantage, though, is only a personal advantage. It's not going to give you much of an advantage over anybody else. All it is going to mean is that you will be able to fulfill a greater quantity, or put it this way, if you do the Artisan's Metal Shuffle, you will be able to make your profession tools cheaper or quicker than people who don't do the shuffle. So there's a subtle advantage there for sure. But it's going to be quite a costly one. And the time when you're going to need to do the shuffle of professions is in week 1. And in week 1, historically, the materials are going to be at that absolute peak. So, although I do suspect that the way that things usually play out is that day 1, everything is ludicrously expensive. By day 3, all the materials are dirt cheap. Because everybody's spent the first 3 days farming like a moron. And just crashing the prices on everything. Then, as we get closer to the raid coming out, the materials start to get back up until they sort of plateau at a semi-normal level. It's the whole profession shuffle thing is a very sweaty min-max approach to professions. Some people will do it, some people won't. Some people will gain an advantage from it. Some people won't. I've been hearing about the spreadsheet. Am I entitled to it now as well that I'm subbed? Yeah, if you make sure your Twitch is linked to Discord, and of course that you have joined the Discord, then you'll have links to all the cheat sheet in there. Catalyst is week 6, which is late. You can't guarantee tier in other slots. I guess. It depends how heavy you're pushing. If you are really like pushing for like pre-Christmas kills for bosses, then or for mythic bosses, then I've already spoke to a fair few people who have said that they might dabble, they might play with the raid, but they're not looking to progress mythic until after Christmas. This is going to be the approach of a lot of guilds. Only the probably top 100 guilds, I would imagine, would be pushing mythic bosses pre-Christmas. So it might end up being that we sort of see 2 waves of things. We'll see that first, if you happen to be on one of the big servers with the top 100 guilds, you might start to see a big spike, as you would expect at the start of an expansion, in the first couple of weeks. But then you might get a lull over the Christmas period, and then a second spike as all of the regular guilds start to try and progress on Mythic after Christmas, after the festive period. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to be honest, boys and girls. I don't think I've got too much time left today to dive too much deeper into this, as I've got stuff to do. So I will power through and I will level this and I'll put some specs together. For anybody that's been watching today and is intrigued about the cheat sheet, the Dragonflight goal-making cheat sheet is still very much a work in progress. There are bits that work, there are bits that don't work, there are bits that are finished, there are bits that are clearly not anywhere near finished. So it's very much sort of an early access thing. As my way to thank the supporters of the channel, whether you be a Patreon, whether you be a Twitch sub over here, or whether you be a YouTube member, you can find a link to this as it currently stands in the Discord. But like I said, the disclaimer there is that it's not finished. It's very much broken in many regards. For the most part, before the launch of Dragonflight, it's nothing more than just a bit of helpful information for you. You know, little charts like such, your profession gear charts, and, you know, which recipes are available through which, you know, reputations. And then, of course, some of the actual professions themselves I've gone through, and I'm slowly but surely working on leveling paths and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's the ins and outs of it. Once Dragonflight goes live, hopefully I'll have it to a point where it's... I don't think it'll ever be finished. I will always be tweaking and twiddling with it and playing with it and stuff. But at least for now, it's available to those who help support the channel and keep me doing what I do. So thank you to you guys. But I'm going to leave it there for today. I've had a busy week IRL, and my days over the next few are still busy. So I probably won't be streaming again until Monday at this point. Probably Monday, possibly Tuesday. I'm really quite busy at the moment. I'm trying my best to get everything sorted so that when pre-patch phase 2 hits, then we can just power forward and we can switch on Dragonflight mode. That's my goal. Oh, I should talk about Twitch drops ever so quickly. It appears that we know of there being 2 slight splits with the Twitch drops. The drop that gives everybody the Dragon Kite pet and the Fell Drake seem to be available for anybody streaming World of Warcraft, so you'll be able to get your drops from watching myself during that period of time. The other 2 drops, the ones where you have to gift some subs and for the pet, and there's another one, the one for the fireworks, it looks like they may be restricted to only certain streamers, of which I don't know if I qualify to be one of those yet. But at least for a couple of the drops, for the Feldrake mount on the launch of Dragonflight, and next week, the latter part of next week, when you can get the Dragon Kite pet, I'll be streaming, and, you know, tune in, come say hi, and you'll be able to... There'll be drops activated here for those. But anyway, that's me done for today, boys and girls. I might be on later this evening. Later on this evening, there's the Crafting with Blues session, where everybody can pile in, and they're trying to stress test the crafting order system on the Valdrakken server. It's happening, what time is it now? It's 5 o'clock. It's happening in about 6 or 7 hours time from now. So if you have access to the beta, get your characters made on the Valdrakken server, and there'll be a stress test of it later on. For us Europeans, it's, you know, quite late in the evening for us. If you play over on Team NA, it's mid-afternoon for you guys, I think. I don't, unfortunately, have a link to the article for it. But it's probably on Wowhead, and you can probably check the forums if you're interested. But yeah, that's me done for today, boys and girls, and probably the weekend. Have a good one. Thank you all for joining, and I'll endeavour to see you all on Monday. Peace.